Welcome back to Factory Sealed. It is July 28th, 2019. My name is Eric Peters, and joining me today, Mr. Mike Tyson.
Hello, good to be back, everyone. How are you? How are you all? Good day, good day, good day to you as well, and everyone else in audio land out there on the high road on the radio. I don't know where I'm going with this. Hi.
Mr. Tom Reagan.
I've got a new microphone.
We all do, Tom. We are all sounding great.
Yeah, I hope it translates to the recording, and hopefully this is all working and you're not using the reference track where we all sound like shit. So you're saying all this and people listening going, what?
Now, just a quick. We probably should have done this before we pressed record, or before we started the show. But everybody's light is solid, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Oh, it's really solid. Yeah.
Okay.
Both the orange one and the red one.
Oh, whew.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well,
the light is solid.
We sound great.
I am solid.
Come on, old Blinky, you can get us through this.
Oh, Blinky here.
That's a nightly phrase.
And I can hear myself as well. We can now monitor ourselves, so I can actually hear myself. So hopefully I won't kill anyone's ears. Gamer Grandpa, you can come back.
He is long gone.
Come back, Gamer Grandpa.
So for anybody who hasn't been keeping up with us on the Facebook page, we have finally accrued enough Patreon money to upgrade all of our recording equipment.
Yeah, so hopefully all of our voices should sound lovely. Look, listen to this. Listen. Toast.
Toast has
Yeah,
never sounded
that?
better.
That's good.
You can hear our guttural tones of
Unique New
Yum.
York.
Yeah, so the idea was to remove computers from the recording entirely, mainly because Dan records on a potato.
Yeah, so what
Dan's
we're doing now is
here.
we've all got little paper cups, and there's like a massive string across the ocean and across up to the north of the UK and from America to Canada. Is how we're working now. So if you're walking along the street and you find like a string, please don't walk over it or touch it because you will screw up our entire recording.
Yes. Thanks. Thanks for that PSA.
Wow, tough crowd. Tom didn't even laugh at that one. Jesus, that's when you know it's bad.
Well, I think it's quite a serious message. That's why. Like, don't fuck this up.
Yeah. There is going to be a way
something
that we've overlooked, and we're going to fuck something up. It's just it's just the way of Factory Sealed.
I mean, I've already asked you this, but have you plugged your computer in?
The monitors are supposed to be black, right?
I'm in sort of a bit of too well to. It's all plugged in, but it's all running off AA batteries.
Yeah, that's not good. Quick, we got 14 minutes to finish the show. Go.
Yeah. I've just got Jives is turning a crank.
Quick.
God, it has been another month since our last show.
Yeah, what a shit show it was when we attempted to last week.
Oh my God, yeah. And that's kind of what pushed us over the edge with all the new recording equipment. We were supposed to do a test, and then Tom and I were all set to go, and we hop on, and I don't even remember what the issue is. Mike had a broken microphone.
My microphone somehow ended up broken between the last show and this one, and then also Dan's computer was being especially potatoey.
Yep. Oh.
Like that thing was well done. Like you aren't getting through that skin, man.
Loaded spud.
Too much butter on it, I think.
So that's why we pushed it off, because we wanted to make sure that we had as many people here as possible. And Dan's not here.
Yeah. Speaking of butter, I think I've been annoying Hazel this week. So when we was over in America.
Wait, hold on. Can we go back to that segue? Because you said speaking of butter.
Because I said there was far too much butter on the computer. You must not have heard me.
Oh, I didn't hear you now.
I think I've been really irritating Hazel this week because when we were staying at yours, There was one morning Christy asked me if I wanted butter on something. And like Christy really struggled to understand me generally when I was over there.
Yeah.
And she said, do you want some butter on something? I was like, oh, butter. Yeah, I love some. She goes, Christy's impression of me saying butter, she was going, butter.
Butter.
Butter. It's like, Christy, that's not a sound like, yes, you, butter. Like, me and Hazel referenced it last weekend when I was getting some butter out and started going, butter. And somehow I've just been saying it all week.
You can imagine Christy saying that.
What do you mean it doesn't sound like you? It sounds just like you.
When you next go downstairs, ask Christy to do her impression of me saying butter. You'll hear.
Yeah, definitely.
I would
do that.
shout downstairs right now, but then the kids would come upstairs and it'd be this whole thing.
Oh no!
Get
I'm
them on the
looking
show
forward to
one
them
day.
opening your door.
No,
again.
I have locked
Like
it.
When the two of them just come in, and then Ratchet comes in, then Felix comes in, the whole family's in there.
Hey, come on in. We're doing a show. That one time when Amelia was still really little and just comes toddling in all buck-ass naked and just screaming.
Can you imagine if we're doing this long enough that Ellie becomes a special guest?
That's the goal. I think maybe once she's like 8.
That's like the legacy plans, but when we all eventually have kids, they'll just take over.
Yeah.
Yeah, most parents and other people leave companies for their kids. We're going to leave just a crumbling podcast. Here's the torch. Take this dumpster fire and keep running.
Best of luck.
Now look after it. It's worth $32.
Did your parents leave you anything when they passed away? Yeah, this shitty podcast.
My dad wrote it into his will that he'd come back and haunt me if I didn't do it every 2 weeks.
Left me the shitty equipment.
Damn paper cup and string. So how is everybody?
It was a shit show getting all this equipment to Dan anyway, because I ordered it for him and just got it sent to his house, and he was like, "Oh, well, I'm not going to be in, and there's going to be no one else in to collect it." Oh, Jesus! He ended up having to like take a day off work. Well, end up working from home, which is essentially a day off work, isn't it? Let's face it, to try and get all this equipment, and like, every day for the past week, like, is there anything coming today back?
Well, if you didn't live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Takes a while for the donkeys to get in.
Here comes the daily stagecoach.
Monthly mail call.
Stand in the middle of the field. Dan!
Curtis!
Yeah.
Curtis! Box of bog roll, Curtis!
Yeah.
Booth?
Brought over from the mainland.
Oh my God, I wish Dan was here. Did you guys see what Hazel's put up on the social media today?
No.
I think I did.
You know that whole Bella Delphine story of her selling her bathwater?
Oh yes, it did.
Hazel's
Fiji
put
water.
together. You guys, like listeners, check out our Instagram or like our Facebook. Hazel's created Saviour Soak from the bath from Dan's monthly bath.
Saviour Soak.
Yeah.
New
Saviour
Patreon
soak.
tier. You can go on and buy that.
Legitimate question.
Go on.
Would anybody listening purchase our bathwater?
Jesus, I wouldn't purchase my own bathwater.
I mean, we're just trying to
what we should-
monetize the show here.
You know what we should have done? Jars of Daniel's shit-clogged toilet water.
Oh my
Just
god.
wringing out the towels in the...
Wait, would you have to give Matt Ernie a cut?
Oh, God. Gross.
Gross.
I can send like a lock of my hair or something.
We got to find other ways to monetize this. I mean,
Yeah,
we are
gotta be able
hot
to do it.
commodities.
Yeah, someone's going to pay for all this equipment.
Underwear in a Ziploc bag.
Used, please.
Well, I think Hazel was looking actually on the Bella Delphine store, and I think she's selling jars of her piss now for like $1,000 or something like that.
1,000.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone's bought it yet.
Probably based on some of the
That's
comments
it, kids.
that I saw in that.
Drop out of high school, don't go to college, sell your piss online.
Hey, if it pays the bills.
You know, you gotta
saving money
admire
on
these
water as
people
well
who
because
pioneer
she's not
this
flushing the
because
toilet.
nobody else is going to be able to replicate it.
Yeah, true. But look, yeah, she's saving money on water bills as well because she's not flushing the toilet. She's doing it directly into a jar. You know? Makes sense. Put it in a bucket, get yourself a funnel into the jars, package it up, and there it goes.
Silver lining right there.
Yeah.
Probably more golden, but...
Yeah, that's true.
To think she was born in 2000.
Yeah, she's only 19, isn't she? I didn't realise she was English as well.
I was in high school then.
So Hazel listens to this podcast and they were discussing all this. Not this podcast, but a podcast. So they were discussing all this Bella Delphine stuff. And apparently, like, she has, like, an actual official, like, Pornhub channel and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's all, like, completely takes the piss. Like, it has, like, Bella Delphine strokes two cocks and it's her just, like, between two, like, chickens.
Yeah.
Something like Bella Delphine takes a black in the hole and it's her just, like, potting the black in pool and stuff like that.
You got to hand it to her. She's repping her brand pretty well. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
Imagine when she's 70, 80 years old and her grandkids are like, Gran, I found your old store.
Well, luckily she has a wig and everything, doesn't she? So maybe it might not look like her.
Yeah.
Dear.
Yeah, so if you have any interesting ways for us to commoditize the show here, let us know. What would you buy from us? Would you buy the cellophane off of the games that I open?
Well, we're
We
not going to
wouldn't
make
have
any money
any to
there.
give away. Come on, Eric, we've got to fulfill the next Patreon rule. I can't do it.
I just can't.
Are you enjoying my little clips? I've been sending the guys clips of all my sealed PS4 games. I've now got 7 sealed
It's
PS4
actually gone
games.
into that special folder on my desktop. I enjoy it so much.
Oh, God.
I'm like going through them like, Astrobot, sealed. Nino Kuna, sealed. Blood and Truth, once again, sealed.
How many are you up to now? Like 8?
No, 7.
Ooh, good guess.
I think-
that is the cap of your sealed games total.
Yeah, because I don't have anything on any of the platforms sealed. But
I did a rough count yesterday, and I think I'm up over 50.
PS4
Just
sealed?
No, just games total sealed.
How many PS4 sealed, roughly, would you say?
More than 10.
Okay, I need to get more than 10 then.
You need to just go to.
It is!
You need to
can
just go
waste
to
the
that
most
dollar
money?
store and buy a whole stack of those Titanfall 2
Titanfall
games.
2.
I'll give you the true experience, guys. But why?
What is it?
I know. I'm still testing the limits of where everything is, so I'll try not to be too loud.
But why?
But why?
Games are meant to be played.
At least it wasn't Irish that time.
No, they're not, Dan. They're meant to look good on my shelf.
You don't know how to play games anyway, Eric, so there's no point in you opening them.
Listen here. I've got more money than I do time. The math just doesn't work out.
That's true. Yeah, it's true.
So what's everybody been up to?
Jacking it.
Okay.
What have I been up to? I'm not really sure.
Jacking it?
A lot of work. A bit more work than normal. But I've been actually, aside from that, I'm almost done with building a new factory seal website.
What? Let's talk about this for a second, because there's going to be some new exciting things.
Yeah.
Or new exciting
absolutely.
thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be, on the surface of it, it's going to be a much faster, cleaner, better looking website. And it's going to work super well on mobile, and we're going to have
I've seen
nice
it.
integrated players on there so you can play episodes directly through it if you don't currently use iTunes or Spotify, but
We are
most people do. But you know,
we're
it's nice to have
eliminating
extra options.
written articles and posts.
Yeah, we're favoring just lots of
Because we're
direct
all
links to the
illiterate.
show episodes, and because we don't write so much in like articles these days, we used to.
Yeah.
Dan used to be pretty on it with writing reviews on stuff or like kind of retrospectives.
Yeah.
But
Just don't have the time.
no, so we're kind of trimming the fat, as it were, and just having like a richer, more modern browsing experience. I'm pretty excited to unleash it.
Unleash.
In the wild.
Into the wild.
And there is slight rumblings of an offshoot show in some capacity that may be happening.
Minor rumblings.
Minor
Tremors, if you will.
rumblings.
Do I know about this?
You do now.
Oh. Oh no, you're getting rid of me, aren't you?
Yep. Finally, this is where your journey
Dan's been
ends.
making all those jokes like for the past
It's now
couple of
going to
years.
just be called the Mike Tyson Screaming Show, and it is one straight hour of Mike screaming into a microphone.
Just like the streamer pillar from The Simpsons, just going, ah, ah, ah.
That's all it is.
That's episode 1. Episode 2 is Dan just shouting Argos for like
Oh, God. You know what? I've said this several times, but I got the blame for that.
You
and
did.
It wasn't even me.
I wasn't on that show. And I remember listening to it before you guys even spoke about it, and I thought, oh, what is that, Mike or is that Dan? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So
it
if
was
I
not
couldn't
me.
tell,
It was not me, 100%. I mean,
I
I think that was
know.
around the time that like I got that bad review as well. So I think that might have been the one that cinched it. It wasn't even me.
oh my God, it's Dan. And he's not
Dan's
here.
sabotaging me.
We got an announcement to make.
You see that CRT TV up there in the top right corner? It is black for a reason. Actually, Dan's there. It's just his webcam.
I was really confused then. I thought you were on about the CRT behind you.
Oh.
And I was like, but that's on the left side.
No. Do we want to talk more specifics about what we're thinking, or just wait until it's more solidified?
I think wait until it's more solidified, but yeah, just a little tease that we've probably got something else in the works.
Yeah. It's nothing. It's nothing along the lines of what we were thinking about with the Gosh Darn Video Game Podcast. So
No,
R.I.P.
we're not going that far.
no.
Did we mention on the show how recently Eric on WhatsApp tried to explain to me what Gosh Darn Video Game Podcast was, despite the fact that I was on an episode of it?
Oh yes, I do remember that.
Not my proudest moment.
Yeah,
Probably my worst.
I was like,
I mean, I know
was
Dan
like-
accuses me of never listening to the show, so you know there was that possibility of a joke. But then there was the fact that I was on an episode of it. Then.
yeah. I remember saying at the time, I was like, let's have Mike introduce this episode.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't remember it.
because what was it? The 3 episodes of it or 4? Was it
Yeah,
3, I think it was.
3.
Yeah, so I was on one of them.
Yeah,
I'm allowed to make mistakes.
God damn it, Eric.
you're not well unless you're a surgeon,
Yeah.
but you're not.
Whatever you do, give 100%, unless you're donating blood. And if you aren't feeling too good and you're a little down in the dumps and you're kind of gloomy, just remember, sometimes it's okay to fall apart, unless you're a Ferris wheel. Counseling with Eric Peterson.
Is this what the new
That's
project
the,
is?
That's the project.
Self-help.
That's all it is. It's just 15-minute snippets of me giving horrid advice.
Yes. Yeah. Like, and I'll join as a special guest every now and again.
Factory
Like,
sealed
Not you,
therapy
American Tom.
opportunity didn't come knocking until you built the door. You understand? You have to set it up in order for it's not just going to come to you. You got to build the door.
Get it, Dan? Because you knock on the door. Oh yeah, he's not here, is he?
Well, we'll wait for him.
Do you think he's got it yet?
I think so.
No, I hope so.
Maybe.
So Yeah, that'll be good. Working on with the new website.
When are we planning on
That'll be
launching that?
nice thing. ASAP.
A sap.
I can't give a specific right now, but I keep working on it daily. It's a lot of
Anytime.
shows to add manually. 180 shows.
182. Don't short us.
Yep. Tom's had a lot of free time recently, as you'll find out later on when we get onto the game. Because it's certainly not been playing that.
Spoilers.
I've been playing games, just not that one. And I've been playing more Wreckfest this week.
Before we get into Wreckfest, I want to share something with you guys.
Oh,
Go
don't
on.
share your actual Wreckfest.
That's the name of our new show. It's Wreckfest, and it's actually on a very non-child friendly website. No, so last week I was out. We had a week-long work function. Every year we have our national sales meeting, and it's basically a week-long party with a little bit of work thrown in. And this year, one of the major focuses, I don't know if I've ever said what I do, but I'm an executive for a educational technology sales company, and so I sell technology to schools. But the big push this year is esports, and a lot of high schools are starting to dive into esports. So our company was big on, all right, let's introduce esports to all of these executives here, most of whom don't play video games in the least bit. So there's about 70 of us, and the few of us who do avidly play games are like, yeah, this is going to be great. This is going to be awesome. There's going to be a ton of fun. They're going to have a cool event lined up. And everybody else, they're doing this hour and a half presentation. You can just see a bunch of people's eyes going, what is this? I'm not familiar. This is cool. It looks neat, but I have no idea what this is. Just the deer in the headlights thing. And it was pretty overwhelming, but they brought in this professional esports company. I think it was Horizon AVL. And they do these massive tournaments. They're working with some stadiums or some companies out in Philadelphia to build these $50 million esports arenas. But anyway, they brought in all of this gear to do a Smash Brothers tournament with 70 people in our company, 65 of which have never touched the game before. Like, okay, this is going to be exciting. And they went to the nines with it. It wasn't just like, all right, let's go stand by this TV. Like, it was bracketed. They had teams laid out. Everybody had jerseys with their names on it. They had the big screens. They had the announcer. Like, they had set it up like a full esports arena for this event, and had everybody bracketed off and tiered off, and just randomly chose teams. So fortunately, I'd been put on a team with one other guy who had played Smash Brothers before, and two other people who had never even seen it, didn't even know what it was. And one of the other teams was stacked with 4 people who were just amazing at Smash Brothers. So they were just cleaning house. And
I played Smash recently with 2 people who had never ever played Smash, and they at times were sometimes more difficult than people who were like really good at Smash that I've played.
Yeah,
because they're literally just fucking tapping and tapping and tapping. You can't predict what they're gonna do.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we got together beforehand, and the 2 girls we were with are like, what do we do? I'm like, well, I can sit here and try to explain the minutia of it, or I can just say stay in the middle of the map, because they had done it for 3 minutes, unlimited lives, and then whichever team had the most KOs won and advanced. So it was just a matter of, all you need to know is stay in the middle of the map, don't fall off. And it was 8 players on the Battleground map, so it was just absolute chaos. And if you've ever played 8 players on those maps, it's hard to follow where you are. So we told these girls, just stay in the middle. And like you said, Mike, sometimes they're more difficult. These girls just were amazing. They never fell off the map. And they let me and the other guy do all the heavy lifting for knocking people off, but they just made themselves extremely difficult to get off the map. And we ended up making it all the way to the finals against the team that just cleaned house on us. But the fact that we made it through 9 total rounds to get to the finals with 2 people who'd never touched the game before, it was neat to actually be a part of, like, just the experience, because they made it feel like it was an actual esports arena with the announcers there and the big screens and the cameras, and it was kind of a neat perspective behind what esports really feels like with this company that actually does these events.
And what team weren't you on, Eric?
I was not on the winning team.
No.
You weren't on Team Mega Man, were you?
You weren't on Team Mega Man.
Because all the teams were named after Nintendo characters, is that right?
Yes, I was on Team Bowser.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But no,
Bowser or the blue?
It was a neat little event. With those jerseys that they gave us were friggin' cool. I think I sent you guys a picture of them.
Did you get to keep yours?
Yeah, it's got my name on the back of it. I'll post a picture of it in the Facebook group. It's actually a really neat little thing. But yeah, esports in the schools is definitely becoming a thing, and I'm jealous that it wasn't a thing when I was a kid.
On the topic of esports, some kid in the UK, 15-year-old kid, became a millionaire yesterday, becoming second in the Fortnite finals.
Jesus.
I saw that on the news.
$2.5 million he won.
There is so much money in that stuff.
Yeah. He's
the
15.
interview I saw him on the news this morning. He was there,
Yeah.
and when I take the piss here, I realize quite often that I input the word "like" into my sentences far too much on this show. But this kid, honestly, I'm not even exaggerating. He was like, it was great, and I wanted to show my mum that I wasn't just wasting my time 8 hours a day in my room, like.
Yeah, he got his first Xbox when he was 6. And then he when Fortnite came out in September, I don't know, 2018 was it? He said he bought it on the first, or he started playing on the first day it came out, and has played 8 hours a day consistently ever since.
Does he go to school?
Yeah, I don't know.
Jeez.
Because his mum says, I tried to get him to focus on his schoolwork, but he always wants to play Fortnite, and I always thought he was wasting his time. Well, I mean,
And now he's made as a millionaire.
Now he's a millionaire.
And since you're a minor, I'm going to take all of it.
He, you expect a kid you hear a story like that, and you expect a kid to be I don't know, probably some fat, greasy kid, and he wasn't at all. He was he looked quite athletic, didn't he?
Yeah,
it's a really interesting shift that's happening right now with athletics in schools. Yeah, we kind of take the piss about the whole thing, and it's just kids sitting around playing video games and all that. But if you look at it from an objective standpoint, though, it's really about including more students in things. Because traditionally, if you wanted to be in sports and on a team, you had to be that athletic type, and you had to try out for the team, and you had to be good in that sport. And usually, to get onto those high-profile teams, you have to have been playing that sport since you were 5 or 6, and it just kind of relegates.
Yeah.
A vast majority of people to the outside, and bringing esports in kind of helps include more people in that. And then, the more games that are included in that, the more people are going to be able to get in and play. And it's just helping those other people feel included.
Yeah. I mean, we brought up a few times on the show, the magic of video games and excuse me, the way they can, bring people together, and also make you feel certain ways and things like that. Like any artistic medium, but you see these times like this, and it really, really does show how they can actually bring people together, considering it's a hobby that's traditionally known as something that's people in their room by themselves.
Yeah, and I think that perception has definitely changed within the past 10 years, and it's interesting to see gaming take a full mainstream front seat. I think that we all went through that era as kids when video games were very largely looked down upon.
Yeah, and they were very much boys' toys as well throughout the 90s.
Yeah, I don't remember talking too much about, aside from the guys that I hung out with at school, though, talking much about games with anybody other than them, or letting other people know that I was a huge game player, because it kind of had that stigma attached to it.
Yeah,
definitely. Most people I knew playing video games when I was at school were, it was discussing playing SmackDown 2. Because we're all wrestling fans, things like that. There was a few people who I used to play video games quite a bit with, but it was always things like Tekken, and there was a few of us that did like Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 8, but I'm talking like 2 or 3 of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not that massive into esports. I don't enjoy watching people play video games that much. That's why I'm not really massive into watching like streamers and stuff.
I'm the same way.
The exception of people who put a comedic spin on it. So I've always enjoyed Game Grumps, for example, but that's not just straight streaming. It's them, they're a bit similar to us in a way. They have a laugh and they talk about the personal lives and stuff like that quite a bit. This isn't an ad for them. But, you know, that's like the exception to the rule where I will kind of watch streaming, but it's not strictly just them playing a game. I find that quite dull sometimes. I mean, props to you if you enjoy it. I just personally don't.
Yeah, I never understood why, but then when I did start to watch a few streamers that I do like, I can totally understand now why it's such a lucrative business, because I actually quite like watching the Counter-Strike Go like esports tournaments. I don't watch them like religiously. I don't watch all of them or anything like that, but I will. It is such an impressive amount of skill on display that you can't help but kind of just admire it a little bit, especially if you know the game well already. So you see somebody else playing a game that you love so much, the best it could possibly be played at the highest level for the. So that's really cool. And then there's a few other streamers too, like you said, Mike, who have a bit more of a personality spin, like a comedic spin onto it, which can add that extra, just that extra skew onto it. It's not just watching somebody stare at a screen and play a game. They're actually like engaging with an audience, and they're increasing interaction between everybody. And they're like, sometimes they do giveaways in the chat. Like it's like an interactive TV channel. And as I've started streaming a little bit more myself, I can see how people get into it, and actually people create these nice communities. I mean, even when we're sometimes streaming on the Factory Seal channel, like it's nice when people from the community jump in and like we can talk to them while playing games, and that's kind of like another way of like reaching people, that like reaching listeners and reaching people that you like hanging out with.
I think maybe the reason that it's a little more uncommon for us is because we didn't grow up with it.
Definitely.
A lot of these kids that are 10 through 18 right now, they've grown up with YouTube and watching people play video games, and for them that was TV as a kid, watching other people play Minecraft, and it's just it wasn't a thing for us, and maybe that's why I don't enjoy esports as much as I do. But if you look at the statistics behind it, more people watched, I think it was the Dota 2 finals or the League of Legends finals, one of those two, than the NBA, NFL, and NHL finals combined.
Yeah, that's a crazy statistic.
Yeah, it's
like
wild.
That really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
Although, if you think about it, like it is surprising. Don't get me wrong, but if you think about it, those three sports you listed are all mainly American-based sports. So you're talking, it's mainly going to be US citizens. Whereas, like with video games, because they're so worldwide, you're talking, how many millions of people across the country, across the entire world, who will be logging in for it. It's going to be more of an interest to people more around the world. I mean, you think about just the amount of people in Japan and how massive video games and esports are in Japan alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I didn't think about that. Yeah, they are predominantly, for sure, American sports that, and there's also a time zone factor, I suppose, as well, if it's live TV.
Yeah, that's true.
I was a little, I don't know. When esports really first started becoming a thing, I was kind of ho-hum and kind of downer on it. Like, this is dumb. But after just learning more about it and kind of being a part of that experience, it's super cool what it can do, and just kind of the atmosphere surrounding it. And if the event is done properly, I can see why people would want to go to an arena. That's one thing I didn't understand, is you see these massive arenas where people go and they sit and watch League of Legends. Like, well, you can just sit at your house and watch it. But it's that atmosphere, isn't it? It's that atmosphere. It's the same reason that we like to go to hockey games. We could watch it on TV, but it's more fun to actually be there.
Yeah, there is something about being there in the moment, and video games, just like physical sports, do have these epic moments.
Yeah,
like that were, you had to be there moments. I remember, obviously I wasn't there, but there's this famous clip. I've seen it tons of times. It's from Evo, like the Street Fighter tournament. In 2004, and it's the final between these two guys, and it's like Chun-Li versus Ken, and I think Ken is on like 0 health, one more touch and he's gone, and Chun-Li has like quarter health left, and then Chun-Li executes like an 18 combo attack.
I've seen that.
And Ken blocks every single one of them, which is not just blocking, but it's also parrying. Because I think he parries all 18, because if you block in Street Fighter, that still hurts you. So he had to parry 18, which requires incredible precision timing. and then responds with his own 18 combo back and wins the whole game, wins the whole tournament.
It's just a level of skill in video games I would never, ever, ever be able to get at. Like,
So
it's just madness, and the whole crowd is roaring during the whole thing, and it's like, yeah, this is just like any other sporting moment in some ways, you know.
I completely forgot about this, but I don't know if you remember this, Tom. When we launched Mana Tank after we broke away from Voldemort Towers, it was actually at Evo 2K 2011.
Oh,
we were there with Focus Fire, and we were helping run their booth, and that's when we actually launched everything. And that was my first actual experience with some sort of esports, and it was still kind of a burgeoning scene at that point. But yeah, it was crazy watching some of those events and how into it people got. When certain characters would do certain maneuvers, the entire crowd would do some sort of cadence or some little hand gesture, and it was just really a neat thing. And I'm starting to see why people can be as into it as they are. Now, granted, I still don't think I'll ever understand letting your kids watch 10 hours of somebody else just walking around playing Minecraft, but
yeah, sure.
To each their own.
Like everything, balance. Yeah.
But yeah, you watch these people compete on these extremely high levels, like the Counter-Strike stuff. I'll never be that good at a first-person shooter, ever.
No. Yeah, it's wild. It's really wild.
The one thing that I think is really dangerous about it, though, and I saw this when I was teaching, and I don't know if this is my outdated mindset seeping through here, but when we were kids, people would ask us, hey, what do you want to be when you get older? And we're like, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be a firefighter, or I want to be a doctor, or whatever. Now you ask a kid and they're like, I want to be a YouTuber. Like, stay in school.
Stay in school, do that on the side, see how it goes.
Yes. And I think we're setting, when you see these people like Ninja who make like $1 million a month, it's setting an unrealistic expectation. It's the same for when you see people in the NFL. I think I can't remember the exact statistics for your odds of making it to the NFL, but if you look at how many elementary schools there are and how many kids play Pee Wee League football, it's tens of millions. And then you whittle that down to middle school football, and it comes down to millions, and then high school, and it comes down to hundreds of thousands, and then you go into college and it's thousands, and of those people it's like a 2% shot of getting into the NFL. So your odds are astronomically low. It's even worse for being famous on YouTube because it is an even more saturated market, because anybody can turn a camera on themselves and upload it.
I guess I don't know, we struggle sometimes. Oh, sorry, Mike.
I was just saying, I don't know, we struggle sometimes.
We struggle turning it on.
It's kind of like, but when we were kids, one of us would say, we would answer that question with, I want to be a professional footballer. And it's the same in England. Like, if you want to play for one of the biggest soccer teams, it's a 1 in a million shot, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know the statistics, same as the NFL, but it's a great dream, and I think you should definitely keep your dreams alive, but also have a really solid backup of something else that you can contribute that you're good at.
It's like when this finally goes professional, we're all going to quit our day jobs, so we're almost there.
Exactly.
We're all moving into Eric's house.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So no, I get it. Esports has actually started. It's kind of cool, and since it's now becoming kind of shoehorned into what I do with my job, I'm going to start taking more of a vested interest in it and actually watching some of these events and just learning more about them.
Even as well as the competitive stuff, I just like some of the amazing things people do, like when they recreate, when they make an unofficial reimagining of Ocarina of Time, and then they kind of stream themselves showing it, or the guy who completed all 3 Dark Souls games without getting hit once and streamed the whole thing.
Yeah, until he made it to the last boss of the 3rd game and got hit and had to start over.
Yeah. But like, as he's completing the first 2 games and everything's picking up on Twitter and everyone's talking about it, and people start jumping into his channel, and they want to be there for the moment. Mm-hmm. So right at the peak of the end of Dark Souls 3, or whichever game he ended with, because I think he at one point started with 3 and ended with 1.
He started 1 through 3 and then got hit and then went 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, that's it. So he's getting towards the end of 1, and suddenly he's got an insane number of viewers because they're all dialing in to be like, I want to see history happen, sort of thing. You know, like I want to see the first person to, at least on a live broadcast, do this unbelievable thing of defeating all 3 Souls games without getting touched, which I just can't believe he even managed.
Do it again with a Guitar Hero controller.
Yeah, right.
The Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
The Nintendo Power Glove.
Yeah. So,
but that's cool, Eric. That's cool. That's that. I would have loved to have. That's a really neat that they did that. That they kind of showed the whole company like, here's what we're getting into. So we're going to emulate exactly what it's like to be at one of these events.
well, and I think the thing for me that was really cool is we have some very tenured people there who have been working in the company for 25, 30 years, and you know they're older and they didn't grow up with games like this, and
Yeah.
None of this back in my day.
I think sometimes those people can feel a little disconnected and a little overwhelmed. So to see that, they were on teams that got eliminated immediately, but it was done in this auditorium where they had a huge screen up front, where they were then just randomly jumping around from screen to screen or different battle, and having commentators talk about it, and watching these people actually become interested in it because they're like, oh my god, these people actually know what they're doing. I've played that game is difficult, so okay,
Yes.
now I understand that what they're doing actually is it requires a level of skill that I'm just not familiar with. And they became actually interested in it, and watching them when we got down to the finals, everybody in the audience was actually really interested and intrigued in what was going on, and it was just this really energetic atmosphere with people who didn't play games. So I can only imagine what it would feel like if you're in this massive arena with everybody there who knows what's going on and loves everything about it and is well versed in the entire game. So it was a really neat experience that, you know, I didn't expect to walk away with.
That's cool. Like you said, it's getting people to it's being more inclusive, right? It's bringing people in a different way rather than just putting a controller in someone's hands and it being completely alien to them. It's like, no, there's a whole thing around this. You can listen, you can figure out more about it. You could, we've got people who are really skilled and people who have never played before, and we're all just trying to have a good time. Like,
what was really neat is after that, the next day we have a massive trade show, and this company set up a huge video wall, and they brought in the esports team from one of the local colleges who just sat there and they were playing games. And to see a lot of these people that I work with go up and talk to these esports gamers, and they had other computers set up where you could just log into your own accounts and play games. So some of us were logging in and playing Overwatch or Heroes of the Storm, and just it brought more awareness to the medium, and it was just a really neat thing because
Nice.
it's in an industry that traditionally I don't think people would be like, yeah, whatever, it's video games, who cares? But
yeah.
So that was that. Back to Wreckfest. Let's talk about some Wreckfest. Oh my god! On the last show, I had just bought Wreckfest, right?
I think so. I think you'd played
Maybe
because I don't think I had played it.
You hadn't.
No.
For the listeners, I want to
waiting.
give some context here of how much these two have been playing Wreckfest. So obviously, these two on a very different, in a very different time zone to me, and every single morning I am now waking up to hundreds of messages between these two in our group WhatsApp chat, just discussing Wreckfest and what they've been doing. Every single morning. I'm not even exaggerating.
This game has cemented itself in my Gotti list. And before I forget, it is coming out on consoles at the end of August. You absolutely have. If you like racing games in the least, even if you hate racing games, if you like games where you can destroy things, you have to get this game. And it's only going to be $40. It is the most entertaining racing game I have ever played.
Yeah, I feel like in the UK it's probably going to be one of those £30 games.
Yeah.
Sort of middle of the road.
It's the online community is something else. Tom and I have taken on some very strange personas.
Taken on first like the stereotypical hick Americans.
I've changed my Steam name to Hank Fist with an American flag with a fist in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's great, and then just kind of trolling everybody in the lobby prior to races, so that then if you kind of get on someone's wrong side, they're probably going to all go for you during the next race.
I got on the entire room's wrong side immediately. All I did was we got into the room and I just typed Hank Fist and everybody piled on me. And the whole chat for like, what was it, 10, 15 races subsequently, I was the target of everybody's ire. And oh God, and it didn't help that I had just a neon green pink car with a shark on top. So like I made myself an easy target, but just that stereotypical American hick in the chat, until somebody else came in and said something dumb and I jumped on them and just diverted the entire attention.
It's like, everybody get him instead. He just said a bad thing. Get him.
And then we had a demolition derby at the very end, and I managed to win. And I think you were the first one that typed it in. You're like, Hank Fist, more like Hank First, am I right? I'm like, that's going out on top, bitches. Exit game.
Yep. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun online, definitely. But even the single player, because they have such a wide variety of different stages, and they just get dumber and dumber.
Oh God! And the damage on it is so much fun, especially when you're doing they have demolition races, where the point of the game is to destroy people, but also finish the race. You know, you're shoving people into embankments, and cars are doing cartwheels over the top of you. And by the time you come around to the third lap, there's just wreckage and flaming cars at every corner.
So is this sort of like a spiritual successor to Destruction Derby then?
It's
honestly,
because that's what it sounds like from your description of it.
If I could think of a game that was closest to, it would probably be Destruction Derby, or I want to say a little bit of Stuntman in there as well, maybe.
And a lot of Flat Out.
Stuntman.
Because it's made by the team that did Flat Out.
Yes. And also Demolition Racer. Did you ever play that on PS1?
No.
Yeah, a little bit like that too.
But then they have these little stupid missions thrown in, like, let's do a demolition derby in a farm combine or on a lawnmower, and it's just...
Or you're in a 3-wheeler and you're against 20 buses, school buses.
on an oval track.
On an oval track, you have to just kind of weave between all the burnt-out buses.
Or I think my favorite track, the one that you and I were playing on with the school buses, it was half of that loop or half of that big oval, and then it had a little U-turn at each end.
Oh,
so for 75% of the race, you're going head on with each other, and people online would be like, "I'm going to take a school bus," and then everybody else is like, "No, I'm going to weave through the bus in my little rocket," and you get one head-on hit from a school bus, and you're toast.
Yeah, it's so good. And then I think they've got some free DLC coming, which is going to be automatically on the
RV
disc
campers.
when it comes to consoles, which will be motorhomes, RVs. Yeah, don't know what they're going to do with that. I'm quite excited.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think, like Eric said, even if you're not big on, it's not really just a traditional racing game. I mean, the racing is good. That's what I was so surprised about. I thought it was going to really focus on just kind of dicking around, but it actually genuinely feels good when you're
there's a lot of attention to detail in it. Each track has a different composition of gravel, dirt, and tarmac, and you have to adjust your brake balance, your differential, your gear ratios based on what each track is. So you're constantly going in and tweaking, and if you want to win the race, you have to do that.
For the longest time, I wasn't upgrading my vehicle, and I just kept because all the vehicles have a class system, and I was just like a Class C rocket car just at the bottom of the pile, not like nowhere near anyone else online. Like, okay, I need to tune this bad boy. I need to get a new engine in here, max everything.
I think what solidified playing online with friends is there's a figure 8 track, and Tom and I were racing together, and we'd made it through the first pass through around the first lap. And then as we're coming through it again, by that time the pack had separated, and I'm one car length behind Tom. He goes flying through this and just gets absolutely T-boned and thrown over the barricade. Just moments like that are just incredible, and I love racing games like this.
There's a clip of that on
Oh yeah, there is. And then the one where I tried to go into a massive demolition derby in a lawnmower and tried to hide in a pile of tires.
Yeah. So good.
It's definitely worth
a lot of
look
fun
if you are a racing fan in the least.
Yeah,
definitely.
It goes on sale every now and again too on Steam if you want to play it on PC. But as I said, I'm happy it's coming to consoles. I'm on the fence at the moment of buying it again just because I already have it and on PC. But
yeah, I don't think it's one I may want to burn through all the campaign again, but just to have the co-op easily accessible with other people, because it's not super easy to find games with each other.
No,
on PC, you got to mess with ports and all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Wreckfest.
We also started playing another game that kind of, you and I have been playing a lot the past 3-4 days, and it's harkened back to our childhood with dungeon crawlers.
Oh my god! So I was at work, and every day I check this one website, and for 24 hours they put a game on sale, and I always have a look just to see. Usually it's kind of shovelware and kind of whatever, but they were for one they had a one-off deal where this game Grim Dawn was available for $5. Normally it's like $30, and I'd never heard of it, didn't think much of it, but I had a quick Google, looked at some trailers, looked at some reviews. I was like, oh, you know what? That looks a lot like Diablo and other games just like it, like Baldur's Gate and so on. I was like, oh, well, I've been wanting to play a dungeon crawler for ages, and for $5, that's a pretty decent entry point. Even if it's not that great, I'm sure I can get $5 worth of
I've spent far more on a lot worse stuff.
Definitely. And so I bought it. I sent Eric the link because I know Eric's into dungeon crawling games, and we thought we'd give it a go. And first of all, I was just messing around. We were just kind of let's just dick around.
Skip
through everything, run through, kill things. And then after about 30 minutes of doing this, though, I was like, this game's actually really good.
Once we started leveling up and getting
good.
spells, it's like, okay, these maps are colossal. There's a lot of enemy variety. Holy crap, look at all the loot.
Yeah. Just tons of quests. It was like, and the aesthetic of it, I mean, the game was made in 2016 by a developer that's not done any other game.
It is their only
Kickstarter game. Just this one studio, and they were like, boom, straight out of the gate with this big dungeon crawler. And there's no half measures. It's like really in depth, but also super accessible. The aesthetic reminds me so much of Diablo and Baldur's Gate. Like, they just totally nail it. Isometric viewpoint. It's just so cool. It reminds me so much of my childhood.
It's almost to a point where it's overwhelming with how in-depth it is, though, because you can choose a bunch of different classes. You can change in between. Each class has its own spells, and you have divinations where you have to unlock star constellations that give you special skills within each of those classes. It's extremely in-depth, but
it is. But like for now, I guess at the first quarter of the game, like I don't know how far we are, but I would say that in the first quarter you can probably get away with not having to have specific builds, probably having average loot and gear and stuff. Maybe we'll run into a situation later where, because we haven't gone straight into the deep end with all the mechanics and all the different mechanisms, that maybe we'll have a bit of a problem. But for now,
and I've probably done myself a colossal disservice by dumping all of my points into one spell.
Yeah, maybe. But we played last night, and when you left, Eric, I spent about 15 minutes just sorting out my inventory and just setting up my gear again. And I've started dual wielding, and one sword and one axe, and I am super strong now. I've been doing myself a disservice.
Can you compete with the Sky Shards of Doom?
Yes.
Oh no!
Seriously.
So, Mike, I gave Tom a very in-depth first-hand lesson in playing dungeon crawlers the Eric Peterson way.
I know for a fact everything you're about to tell me is going to remind me how I never ever want to play a multiplayer game with you online ever.
It's the same. It's the same way in Wreckfest. The second the race starts, I find Tom and spin him out.
Yeah.
No, so I grew up playing dungeon crawlers with Scott Girardi. We played Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance 2, Champions, and then Champions Return to Arms. Those were 4 games on constant rotation for us. Hundreds and hundreds of hours dumped into them. And that was back before the date. Well, no, you could do Champions online, but the Baldur's Gate ones weren't. And
No.
they didn't have this lovely thing that a lot of people have now called instanced loot, where, oh, it's okay, we want everybody to succeed. It's basically the participation ribbon of video games. Instance loot means that no matter what, you both get the loot, and that is not the best way to play. The best way to play is, fuck you, I'm getting that loot, you can deal with the enemies, and just a massive rush to the loot. And it took Tom a good 15 minutes to really wrap his head around it, but he is fully on board with playing that style, and he is ruthless about it.
You have to. Selfish Tom has to come out.
We would pile down into a cavern or a cellar, and those are quick, short little dungeons. And it would just become this sprint to the last room because there's got to be a treasure chest there, and just leave hordes of enemies. Tom is back there dying. I could heal him. Nope. I hope you die so I get all the loot. And, we get to a boss fight and Tom would die. I'm like, oh my God, I hope I beat this boss before you get back so I can get all the loot for myself. But he threw a curveball at me initially, and I don't know how I feel about this. He asked me if I wanted something that he thinks would be good for me. That's so unfamiliar for me, because when I would play with Scott growing up, it would just be, hey, this looks like it'd be for your character. Destroy.
Can you imagine that, Mike, right? You and me are playing, right? You're a mage, I'm a warrior. I find a really awesome, rare, staff. It would be perfect for you.
And it would help you as a team succeed.
Yeah. And I'm like, Mike, I got this. I found this stuff. It would be great for you. That way, when we work together, you'll be more powerful, and we'll be stronger together. Would you like it? Imagine your reaction being like, "Oh, that's weird. Don't offer me things. No, you should be selling it or throwing it away or something, or just
what is this?
No.
Is this what friendship feels like?" It's very uneasy. It's uneasy for me.
I'm never playing online games with you, Eric. I've decided.
But Tom, admit it. It's fun.
Well, you make your own fun in this life, and I've had to do just that.
Especially whilst trying to game with Eric.
If I'm playing with Eric, I've got to join. If you can't beat them, join them.
And boy, have you joined.
Terrible.
Mike, do you have much experience with these types of games, or not so much?
Not really. I think the one that I've had the most experience with but they're more cooperative than that anyway, is kind of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance series. I played the second one of that to death years ago.
Those do kind of fall into that same category, though, don't they?
Yeah, I think so.
But a lot of the power-ups and stuff in that, they're shared between the team, and your team bonuses and stuff like that. So there's not really a way to fuck each other over on it.
That's not my game.
If you do go through raids and stuff like that, or big dungeons on games like Warcraft, when you find an item of loot, there is a thing where everybody sort of rolls a dice, and whoever gets the highest number gets the loot.
No, I like the straight I got here first. Tom is such a ruthless jerk about it, though, too, because I'll open a treasure chest and he'll just swoop in and steal everything. It's great.
Yeah, but if it's the roll of a dice, I'd rather RNGesus decide rather than Eric just being an asshole about it.
What's great, though, too, is that after we get a bunch of gear, or if we beat a mid-level boss, Tom will sit there and he'll be dicking through his inventory, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to take this opportunity to get ahead and just start rushing forward to see if I can find other stuff.
But then he's rushed forward too much, and then he gets himself into a pickle, and he says, "Oh, Tom, I'm going to need your help. I'm dying."
To come and save him.
And it was like, right, you could have waited. If you'd waited, you'd be fine right now.
Can't do it.
He doesn't wait, Mike. You're there trying to hand quests in, and he just runs off.
Look we're only here helping because we've been forced to be together.
Yeah. It feels like we're both playing single player. sometimes. But
It's
we're on
great,
the
isn't
same
it?
map.
Doesn't sound like an enjoyable
Oh god,
experience.
I love dungeon crawlers. I absolutely love them.
Yeah, because you're there fucking everyone over.
Oh, they're so much fun. Aside from that, though, like this game has truly nailed the genuine aesthetic of dungeon crawlers. We were talking about this last night. There really hasn't been a solid dungeon crawler in recent memory. Yeah, I mean Diablo 3 was, but it kind of had that cutesy, cartoony graphic style to it.
Yeah.
But prior to that, there was Sacred 3, which just shit the bed on the Sacred name. Sacred 1 for PC was really cool. It kind of had that Diablo isometric style to it, and it was a much bigger game. Sacred 2 on PS3 was fantastic. But then they
Never
started
tried the Sacred games.
Yeah, those are great. But then, things like Demon Stone, and then there was Dungeons and Dragons Heroes or something like that, which was actually pretty good. But for me, dungeon crawlers died off with the Champions and Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance.
Yeah, and Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance is the only dungeon crawler I've played on console. I've always considered them as PC games. I don't know why.
The only downside to playing those on console, though, is that if you're playing multiplayer and somebody wants to pop into their inventory, it locks the entire screen up. You're like, oh my god, okay, hurry up, just delete it already. But lately there's been stuff like Torchlight that's been pretty good, but this one just harkens back to that true
honestly, if you're one
style.
of the 9 people listening right now, please, if you like dungeon crawlers, Grim Dawn.
$5 was an absolute steal. It is 100% worth $35. 100%.
Yeah, it really is. Is that what the new price is?
I think it's $35 right now. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, at least if you're not sure about that, add it to your wish list. It will go down again.
I know we make a lot of recommendations, but if you like dungeon crawlers, if that style is your jam, and if you've been itching for something, like if you burned out on Diablo 3, this game will scratch that itch.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to attempt to play through the entirety of the story together.
Somehow, Eric, somehow.
We'll make it. It might take a month or two, but we'll get there.
Together.
We'll be on the same screen, functioning somewhat in the same capacity.
Hey, at least Eric doesn't turn PvP on. Where you can actually attack each other.
So I've got a spell, Mike. It's called the Sky Shards. And I've dumped all of my level up points into it. I'm doing myself a huge disservice by that. But when Tom and I were hitting with our weapons for like 30 or 40, my Sky Shards were hitting for 800. So it was worth all of the points. But you just walk into a room, you drop it down, and it clears out the entire room. If we had PvP on, Tom would constantly be dead.
So there you go.
Put a spell on you, because I'm an ass.
I am looking forward to you, Mike, playing through, because I think it would be fun to watch if it was any way to Resident Evil 5 co-op, you two. Oh, I think that would be sweet.
I will play that with you.
The thing is, Resi 5, apparently, because I've never played it co-op, and I would like to play it co-op one day, apparently it's actually easier, because when you die, as long as you can just get to each other, you can constantly revive each other.
Yeah, you can, because I played it.
But that would mean I have to come revive you, and I'm not used to doing that.
He would do it, probably.
Just fuck me out, take all the decent weapons and all the...
Yeah, then I'd come back and get you. I'd make sure that I've picked all the pockets and looted all the chests, and then I'd come back for you.
Tickled all the anuses.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd tickle yours.
Yeah, no. I don't know. He raised his hand for like 5 minutes the last time I mentioned on the show playing Resident Evil 5 co-op, and I don't know. Don't know if I want to put myself through that stress.
It's fun. It is fun.
Do you know what mode would be perfect for Eric? You've never played Resident Evil 6, did you?
Giraffe Blowjob Simulator?
Yeah, that's the one. There's a mode on that. So there's some sections of the game where if you have it switched on, basically people can control the enemies and come and attack you. If you stay in that area on the game and have that mode on, you will have endless enemies. They won't stop coming, because it's designed for like just people to drop in and play as the enemies.
That's awesome.
That would be perfect for you.
Wow.
That'd be perfect for me.
That's cool.
Just go in, fuck up someone's game.
Hell yeah! I used to do that in. I think it was Demon Souls. There was one boss that you could, instead of summoning yourself in as a phantom to go mess with people, you could summon yourself in and get pulled in as the boss and just fuck with people trying to beat this particular boss fight. And you couldn't really tell that it was somebody else.
Which game's that?
It was Demon Souls.
Wow.
Yeah. So you could, if you wanted to, you could summon in as a red phantom and go mess with people as another way to get experience. But if you dropped that shard in a specific location outside the door to a boss fight, you'd get pulled in and you'd get to play as the boss.
Any boss?
No, that boss in that room.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great.
So that is a specific boss in Demon Souls. It's not like you could be the spider like the first boss.
No. It was that one boss.
I was going to say.
Yeah, it was.
Because they would have had to have rigged up like character models for all of those bosses just for this.
Nothing. No. So
that's really cool.
Some hefty work.
Demon Souls was so ahead of its time.
I really want to put that on the show for next year. I think I'm going to. I'm going to use up one of my slots and force you guys to go through it.
Well, I've never.
That means I'd have to buy a PlayStation 3.
Tom, you're going to need to get a PS3 soon
days.
anyway, because a lot of those games are going to start hitting eligibility for the show.
True.
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye out at MoCon for you.
They're cheap.
Okay.
They're cheap these days.
So
Pick 'em up 50
that's
quid
what
over
I've been
range.
playing the past 2 weeks outside of Kingdom Hearts. Have you guys been playing anything else, or is there any news we should talk about?
I played a bit of Red Dead and that's it.
Dump any more bodies in the ocean?
I keep doing it, yeah. I'm now 33% through the game. I've put in about 20 hours, I think.
Jesus.
It's a big ass game.
20 boring hours.
I'm with Mike on that.
Man, I love it. It is not boring. I love it. That is
20
a sweet game.
painstakingly boring hours.
A lot of scrubbing the horse and stirring the stew and
You really don't do that very much, though.
pulling the gun out of
You
your
really
saddle so you can go
accidentally
on.
taking your gun out for no reason.
Yeah, that's fun. Because the game always knows I want to have my gun out. That's what I like.
Listen
The
here, I know
American
American
way.
Tom's playing this gun out.
He's not even allowed to holster it.
The problem is I keep doing all the side missions. I think that's why it's taking me longer. But
And
yeah,
because you have to spend 10 years traveling between each mission.
I've got fast travel.
And then putting your any items you get onto the horse and then having to take all those items back because your horse can only carry so much and then coming back out,
Yeah.
brushing your horse,
20
I don't do that much. I gotta be
feeding your
honest.
horse,
hours.
feeding yourself so that your fucking stamina doesn't disappear,
Yep. Yeah.
shaving yourself.
I need to teach you guys how to play it, to be honest.
Tom, do you
That
want to
would
know
be-
how I play it and what I do?
He
I
puts
think you
it
can
in the
guess.
box and puts it on his
I
shelf.
really need to teach you guys.
No.
Go on.
All I did was I shot horses. That's the
You can do
main
that.
reason I bought the game.
Then might I suggest Deer Hunter for the PS4?
It's Deer Hunter, Tom,
Yeah, but
Horse
deers
Hunter.
are not a horse. Deers.
I mean, you could
Deers are not horsers.
pretty much got 4 legs, run away.
They
when
got
they hear
ears that
sound.
stick up and they kind of bounce around. They ain't as big, so I got to shoot 2 deer to equal 1 horse. That's the
Yeah,
ratio:
bet.
2 deer to 1 horse.
Y'all got Bambi Simulator back there? Sorry.
It's just one screen.
It's just one, 10-minute long game.
Credits. Best $2 I ever spent.
Yep. That's DLC
Oh,
for
come
Deer
on, man!
Hunter.
Come on, it's Disney. It's not going to be that cheap.
The Bambi add-on. Other than a bit of Red Dead, actually, I don't think I've been playing anything else apart from Smash Bros. Every day for 15 minutes at work. That's just the thing. That's like a thing we do at work every day. 15 minutes Smash Bros.
I've started playing. It's a game we've been meaning to hop into for years with my love of horror games. I've started playing The Evil Within.
Oh
The
yeah,
original
People
one.
tell me
Yeah,
I
you
would like
played
that
it.
one a lot.
Sorry, Eric.
I've heard quite a bit that I would like that game. I need to pick that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's if I had to describe it in any way, it feels like a combination. It feels like it could be a Silent Hill game in terms of like its visuals and like the fucking weirdness and like the enemies and stuff like that. But it would be like if Silent Hill came in terms of gameplay, almost sort of the Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5 sort of direction. So kind of more over the shoulder kind of stuff. But boy, is it like you thought the original Resident Evil was tight on ammo. This is fucking tight on ammo.
Oh my God, so I'd be screwed.
Oh, yes,
so
it is. I forgot about that. Yeah.
You
There's
give me a
stealth
gun,
technique, so you can
shooting.
sneak up on the enemies and kill them in one shot and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I did a bit of research beforehand on it because I heard that there was something to do with like black lines at the top and the bottom that they fixed. So like originally to try and make it look a bit more artistic, you lose like it looks like widescreen. Apparently they patched it in so that you could change it so you have a full screen, and apparently on the original PS4 whenever you had a lot of enemies around it used to chug, and I'd heard about this before, and I looked into whether the PS4 Pro helps, and obviously you've got the boost mode on PS4, so it's something that isn't like PS4 Pro enhanced. The PS4 Pro will use, if you've got the boost mode on, it will use that extra processing power to improve the frame rate, etc., of the game you're playing, and apparently it fixes it. So yeah, being able to play it on full screen and not having any of the chugging definitely works. But yeah, very, very interesting game, Eric. I think you'd actually quite like it, other than the scarcity of the ammo, obviously.
Yeah, I struggled with Resident Evil 2 on that.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't make it through the B scenarios.
No,
sure. I had a friend get really far on the Evil Within, and he actually just could not go. He couldn't go any further. He had basically hardly any ammo left at all on a boss fight, and his most recent save was there, and he had nothing else to load, so he was kind of fucked.
Oh, it's definitely tricky. Doesn't help that it's
right now.
Doesn't help that it's a little bit janky as well.
Yeah,
like, with it being quite old. But I got it on sale like last year, I think, on PSN, and I just never.
So you're playing a digital version?
Yeah. And what did I finish recently? Because we finished Kingdom Hearts. That was the one game I was playing at home, and I was kind of a bit lost to what to play. So I looked at my library to see what I hadn't played yet, and Evil Within was there.
I could buy it on PC at GameStop for 97 cents.
I mean, it's definitely worth that.
97 cents.
97 cents.
Put it on the wish list.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait for it to go down a little bit.
You're hoping it'll go down there, Tommy.
Yeah.
I've been,
but no, I'm enjoying it. I think there's 15 chapters. I'm on chapter 6 or 7. I'm enjoying playing it. Hazel's enjoying watching play it because she enjoys watching horror games. So
nice.
But yeah, if you like horror games, if you like the kind of weird sort of Silent Hill style, it's very gory for sure. Like one of the first scenes of the game, you're dropped into literally like almost like swimming pool sized area of blood, and there's like a guy with a chainsaw chopping. Like,
you don't need to sell me on it. You had me at guns.
Yeah. Just not many bullets to go with them, Eric.
It's okay. As long as I got a gun for protection, I'm good.
But yeah, there's a little bit of a leveling up system as well on it, sort of little RPG elements. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, actually.
I didn't know it had a leveling up system. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I've also started South Park Fractured Butthole on Switch.
Ooh.
It's as good as Stick of Truth. They've changed the battle system quite a bit, so it's kind of got this grid-based system, which I'm enjoying quite a lot. It's the same thing with Stick of Truth, though. Like, I think a lot of the comedy can come from the references to the show, but there's enough there for anyone who's not necessarily a South Park fan to enjoy that. So I'm enjoying that at work at the moment. The one thing I would say is, if you're not bothered about the portability of that game, play it elsewhere, because the loading screens are a bitch on Switch.
Oh, okay.
That's the only downside, I would say. So, like, every time you go into the battle, there's like a little bit of loading time. Like, you're talking like a good 10 seconds of loading before you actually go into the battle, which is a bit of a pain. But I'm getting to play it at work because I do a lot of playing at work.
That's why I didn't get CTR on Switch, because if you watched any of those comparisons in load times, to go into a race, awful. It's like 50 seconds.
Wow.
And the PS4 Pro is like 7.
Well, the PS4 Pro, I still find the PS4 Pro version of the loading screen is still quite egregious, to be honest.
It is, but compared to the Switch version, it's insane.
I actually bought the Stick of Truth quite recently on PC for about $5.
It's a great game, Tom.
I've never
Honestly.
played it, but it's like people talk a lot about it, saying it's really funny and really solid
Like,
RPG.
Not too many spoilers for it, but like a prime example of like how ridiculous the Stick of Truth is. There's a moment in the game where you encounter the underpants gnomes from from the show, and you end up getting the power where you can shrink down to like their size, so you can go through like small areas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And one of the areas you end up going into your mum and dad's bedroom whilst your mum and dad are fucking each other, and you end up chasing this enemy across the bed, and you end up having a battle underneath your mum and dad fucking each other doggy style. And like there's like a little QTE in the battle of your dad's testicles swinging down, and you have to avoid them. That is how ridiculous it is.
Brilliant! I can't wait already. And isn't
that's
there
in
a bit
Stick
when
of
the
Truth?
game?
Yeah, on Stick of Truth, yeah.
Doesn't the game also go into 8-bit briefly as well at some point, randomly? I think you mentioned it, where it goes into like a really old school, where 8-bit with the music is like, I can't remember. I remember you sharing this like with us like ages ago.
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, I'll have to dig it out. But yeah, it just seems like a really
it's
neat
real
game.
good fun, Tom.
Yeah,
real good
okay.
fun. I think if I'd finished, because I didn't finish Stick of Truth until I think I finished Stick of Truth in January this year, and I think did I actually put it on my Game of the Year list the year I played it? I might have done. I'm not sure.
No,
Quite low down because I hadn't finished it yet. But no, it's a lot of fun. But as I said, unless you really want the portability, I'd recommend it elsewhere, because the loading screens are a bit of a bitch on Switch.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I managed to pick up Final Fantasy 12. Yeah, 12. Really dirt cheap for the Switch recently, considering it's normally like 45 quid here. Game had it on sale for $26.99. So I think after I've done South Park, I might actually finally give Final Fantasy 12 a proper go on Switch.
That's one I really need to play.
I just
never
can't.
tried 12.
I get to the same point every time I play through it and just hit a wall. And it's about 15 to 20 hours into it. And it's not that I don't enjoy it. That always seems to be right around the time where I get
Eric,
sidetracked.
you know that stick you use to go forward? If you move that to the left or right, you'll go round the wall.
Thanks, Mike.
That's the thing.
You should write strategy guides.
Thanks.
Yeah. I've
yeah,
hit
the
a wall. Google.
The only way I'm
these
these days I'm ever going to get to like kind of finish an RPG that big is if it's on Switch. So I thought, well, 26 quid, yeah, bargain.
Yeah, you can't beat that. You know what I haven't finished since our last show?
Every game you've attempted to play.
Yes.
Burn.
Ouch. I still haven't finished Spirit Tracks.
Finish what?
Spirit Tracks.
Oh my god! I thought you had. You kept that one quiet.
I know. I gotta finish it, because then, like 2 years from now, I'm gonna have to pick it up and start over again. So,
Did you hit a wall on that one as well?
it's not fun
Because there is a lever you can pull to make the tracks.
to make the train go forward. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But you can also, if one track's going towards a wall, choose the other one.
Got it. Note to self.
Keep your spirits up, for God's sake, and finish it.
I just need to stay on track.
Keep on track, Eric.
You just need to stay on track. Yeah. Oh, I know what it's like trying to get through something that you just hate,
Segway!
We don't want to segue there yet, but...
No. Oh, yeah, Nintendo released the light switch.
Yeah, why have they not called it the light switch?
I know.
Seems like a missed
right?
opportunity there.
Right, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say out of the four of us on the show, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, I am probably the most optimistic about new things. When
Generally,
new things are announced. Yeah. I'm not massive on this at all. I mean, I get the idea. Like, it's not for me. I mean, I've got a Switch. I'm happy. I don't see I'll start again. Sorry. I see the point. I see what this is for. Like, people who want a second Switch for the house, they want something maybe a bit smaller to take out on the road. Tom, you mentioned about the fact that it hasn't got the Joy-Cons on the side, so it'll feel a bit more firm in your hands when you're playing it handheld. But I think they've really missed the point here in terms of the TV connectivity, because it doesn't connect to the TV in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. Which means, to me, that's not a Switch. And then,
Yeah, what's it switching between?
Exactly. Nintendo, they say no matter what we say or how we play it, Nintendo are adamant that the Switch is a home console. It is a home console that you can take portably. It's not a portable console. And then they've been trying to push for a while. Like in Japan, you've been able to buy the standard Switch without the dock for quite a while because they want more Switches, like more than one Switch in each home. The idea is, you've got one for the younger brother or younger sister or younger sibling, whatever, and they've got one dock, and then only one of them can play on the TV at a time. Great, and this Switch Lite probably aimed towards that in some kind of capacity. But if you were the younger sibling and your older sibling can then put the Switch onto the TV, and you're there, well, no, I fucking can't.
Yeah.
Well, here's where I don't know.
Sense to me.
I'm looking through it again. I guess I didn't realize how small this thing is. It's really small. I think this is set to firmly replace the 3DS. I think once this launches, the 3DS is done.
You say that, but Doug Bowser literally a day or two after the Lite was announced, he said they're still supporting 3DS.
Yeah, they're still supporting it, but it's eventually. I mean, we're in the sunset days of the 3DS.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I don't think it's necessarily replacing it now.
Honestly, I see a place for this, and I'm actually quite intrigued by it because it is smaller. I don't necessarily like taking my big ass Switch out with me if I want to play in the car or play.
Yeah,
I mean it's big. It is a big handheld console.
It is.
I like the portability of the size of a Vita or the 3DS. It's small, it's compact, it's not obtrusive, it doesn't look obnoxious. I mean, when you're playing the Switch out in public, it's like, yeah, you're holding this giant tablet with controllers on the side of it, and it's obvious. This looks like it's about the size of a large phone.
Yeah.
And I definitely see a place for this.
I do too. I do.
A lot of families will buy kids a portable console, and they don't really care about having them connect it to the TV. I think for avid gamers like us who like that flexibility of, okay, I want to drop this in and play it on a big screen. But if I'm a parent and I want to get my kid a console, in the past it used to be get them a 3DS or get them a PSP or a Game Boy. That was great. Didn't have to worry about hooking it up to the TV. And if I were in this situation where it's like, okay, my kid wants their own personal console, this is $100 less. They want a Switch. Why would I buy them the big Switch if they're never going to... You
mentioned the price, Eric.
What's that?
I think you mentioned the price, but I think this is actually quite overpriced because it's
I think it is too.
It's $100 less than the normal Switch. Now, if you buy the docks alone, they're what?
$80.
$70, $80? Yeah.
80.
You then, right, it also doesn't have it doesn't have Rumble, so there's no HD Rumble in it. And then
there's also a lot of games you can't play.
There's some games you can't play. So if there's any games that you can't play in handheld mode, so like Mario Party, you can't play it but you can connect Joy-Cons to it, so you can play it on the screen, but then you'd have to buy a separate set of Joy-Cons. How much are Joy-Cons over there? $74.99?
$80.
Yeah. So where is how have they only knocked $100 off this? I don't understand.
No, I mean,
obviously they're wanting to make a profit.
The ideal price point would be $120 for this, maybe $149.
But the funny thing is as well, like this whole what I've just said about you can connect Joy-Cons to it, so you can play the games that you can't play in handheld. It doesn't have a kickstand. So if you're then going to play those, and if you then want to play all the games available, you then have to buy some sort of stand for it as well.
True.
So does that mean all of the new packaging for Switch games is going to have to include not playable on Switch Lite?
Yeah.
Well, if you actually look on the cases, Eric, I know you can't normally read them because of the shine coming off the cellophane.
Yeah, the sheen gets in my way.
Yeah, it does. Most games these days do actually say like what kind of the compatible control schemes are. So like handheld, like TV, Joy-Cons, Pro Controller, stuff like that.
One thing that sucks is, one thing I really like with the Lite is that the left Joy-Con has an actual D-pad, but they're not selling Joy-Cons separately with the D-pad, so you can't buy a D-pad Joy-Con for your normal Switch.
I kind of like using the button D-pad.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me either.
Yeah, I've actually kind of liked it because it's a good D-pad through history has been extremely hit or miss, and I think the only one that's really been able to truly nail it has been Nintendo and a couple consoles and Sony. Microsoft can't seem to figure that fucking thing out.
No. Yeah, only Sony for me. And actually, a couple of the old Nintendo
even like the
consoles
Super
have really
Nintendo
good
D-pad wasn't that great. The NES D-pad,
No.
fantastic.
The Game Boy D-pad is really good.
Yeah. Game Boy
It's very
Advance
good.
D-pad was really good.
Yeah.
The PSP D-pad was great. It provided
Yes.
that. My side note here, the D-pad on the original PSP 1000s, if you've ever taken the guts of it apart, behind it should look like a circle, but because the D-pad is so close to the screen, it's like a circle with an end of it cut off, and that's caused some pressure issues with the hitting the right on the D-pad. So people created this mod for it where you take an old NES cartridge case, like those black plastic sleeves, and you cut something out to sit behind there to give it that extra leverage that you needed, and I had to do that with mine.
Interesting.
Wow.
Now, the other thing with this Switch Lite, I wasn't that up on it in the first place, but the thing that brought me down even further with it, don't get me wrong, this thing is going to sell fucking gangbusters. This is going to do really, really well, like especially for your games and stuff, and especially like it's coming out soon, and then Pokemon's going to come out soon as well. Now, the one thing I was positive with it was the battery life was a bit longer. So your Switch at the moment, it's approximately 2.5 hours to 6.5 hours. You always use Breath of the Wild as the example. You'll get approximately 3 hours of Breath of the Wild. Okay. Now the Switch Lite, slightly extended, 3 to 7 hours. If you were playing Breath of the Wild, you'd get about 4 hours. But mere days, and I mean literal days after they announced the Switch Lite, they announced that the standard Switch console is getting a new serial update with a brand new processor in, which is improving the battery life on the standard Switch, which is now getting 4.5 hours to 9 hours. And it's using Breath of the Wild as an example. You will get about 5.5 hours out of Breath of the Wild. Now, when the Switch Lite was announced, I was like, okay, that little bit of extra battery life, maybe this is the best way to play a Switch on the go. You know, you're getting more battery life out of it. It's a little bit smaller, might be a bit more ergonomic. Who knows? I've not held one. But then mere days, they come out with this. Now, to me, the Switch Portable is a fantastic device. I don't mind the size. I actually quite enjoy the size. Obviously, I play it portably at work a lot. For me, the premium way of playing that portably is this brand new model of Switch. Not the Switch Lite. I just don't understand.
Yeah, and there's also just some issues around. We would know by like scrutinizing packaging and serial numbers, but your average buyer is not going to know whether they're getting slightly shafted by buying one of the older model Switches as they try and get rid of those.
Well, look at PSVR as the recent example. They brought out the V2 version of that, and the only way you could tell was, one, there were certain bundles that had it, but you would only know from that if you'd read up on that. And then also like the tiny little serial code on the box, you would know. And if you're into your 4K HDR, the V1 did not have HDR pass-through. Yeah. So anything going through your VR unit or your PS4 at the time, if it was hooked up, you weren't getting the HDR signal. So you had to unhook your entire VR unit every single time with it.
And I guess that's kind of one of the downsides, though, of being an early adopter, and people like us just kind of roll the dice on that. It does suck that there's a better functioning Switch out there, but I can't, at this point, I guess I've never been able to justify purchasing a second edition of a console unless one of mine has died, with the exception of the PlayStation 4 Pro, because technically that was a half-generation step.
Yeah, same. But I'm not going to get a new Switch. I've never had a trouble with the battery life, but I bought myself one of those actually Nintendo licensed Anker battery packs, which gives you hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of gameplay on your Switch. And also I can plug it in at work anyway, because I've got USB sockets in my truck. So I generally don't struggle with battery life on the Switch anyway, because I usually have a way to plug it in with me. But going back to what you're saying about the box, Tom, apparently the newer ones will have a different coloured box. They'll be all red. But again, unless you're in the know, you won't know. Because it's not something that's going to be advertised, because it's just it's the same console. It's just
the right thing to do would be to knock $20-$30 off the old Switch, right?
But
they won't do that, obviously.
That's not how
Why
it
would
works.
they? But I don't know. I would actually, if I didn't have a console, if I didn't have a Switch, I would actually probably buy the portable one now, because I don't really play TV mode.
Has he stopped for you?
Tom just froze.
If I'm home and playing on my TV,
Tom, you just completely froze then, visually and audibly.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Well, I was just saying that I wouldn't. If I was buying a Switch now, I'd buy the portable one. I think because of I reckon it's probably a little bit more ergonomic. I do find it a little bit cumbersome, a little bit big to play handheld. Just personally, I do prefer that smaller form factor.
I would probably do it as well.
And I don't play TV mode very much because I have the PlayStation and my streaming my PC to the TV. Like I like to play those experiences on the TV more so than my Switch. I don't know. It's just, again, it's personal preference, but...
And you got to spend a lot of time playing Kingdom Hearts.
Playing what?
Kingdom Hearts.
Oh.
Like, don't get me wrong, like, when I say I'm down on it, like, I'm not completely, I'm not like, this is a fucking waste of time. I think there's been some very questionable decisions with it.
I think so. I think you're right. I think it's
like
right to scrutinize it in some...
Well, Nintendo can just slap their name on anything and people are going to buy it.
Cardboard!
Exactly. Cardboard. Yeah.
Now, it'd be interesting to see if the Lite suffers with this like Joy-Con drift issue that Nintendo seem to be trying to nip
Yeah,
in the
Jesus,
bud at the
what is
moment.
going on? Nope, nothing's wrong. Like, okay, clearly there is something wrong here.
Yeah, what is it? If people had experiences with the analogs not sitting in the middle, like it's just drifting around quite literally.
Well, if you guys remember when the Switch first came out, the left Joy-Con was just having connectivity issues.
Oh, yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And now it's become a thing
it turned
where
out to be a piece of sponge, didn't it?
What's that?
Turned out to be like a piece of... It was a manufacturing error.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out that there's this like... is it conducive? Is that the word I'm looking for? A bit of sponge inside that was supposed to help with the signal.
Yeah.
And when people were sending their Joy-Cons back to be fixed, they were coming back and people were opening up to see what was different. And there was like this piece of sponge in there. And Nintendo actually said, yeah, there's been a manufacturing error on some of the first models to come out.
Interesting.
Wow.
But yeah, the Joy-Con now is just drifting. It every joystick has a dead zone in the center, and this dead zone gets smaller and smaller because the joystick starts wearing out, and it just will cause whatever you're doing to move in a specific direction. It's just drifting.
That's bad.
Well, and there was
the issue was people were sending them, even ones in warranty and stuff like that. People were sending, they were getting in touch with Nintendo Support, and Nintendo Support were charging them to fix it when this is an error on their part.
Well, but how shitty is that though? Because okay, you got to send your Joy-Con in and be without it for a couple weeks, and it's just it's a pain in the ass. And for Nintendo initially to come out and be like, no, there's no issue. They really only changed their mindset when a massive class action lawsuit was filed.
Well, there was this just after that happened. There's been a memo leaked this week from their support center where Nintendo, like, this wasn't supposed to be public, but this memo to the support center were to people on the phones, just repair their Joy-Cons for free. And if anyone rings up saying they had to pay for their repair, refund them, no questions asked.
Oh.
So they're trying to make good on it, but they're quietly trying to make good on it. It's not like they're advertising the fact.
It's not like Nintendo's going to lose any money. They can operate at tens of millions of dollars of losses for the next 50 years.
Yeah, I remember reading that statistic somewhere.
Yeah. But yeah, it's shitty. There's been a few design flaws with the Switch. It's not. I love my Switch, absolutely adore it. But there are issues with it. I've been lucky, and I've not had any issues with it. Yeah. The worst thing about this is the Switch itself comes with I think it's a 12-month warranty. But if you buy a brand new set of Joy-Cons, they only have like a 3-month warranty. And the Joy-Cons are obviously the issue here. So if you buy a brand new set of Joy-Cons and they start getting Joy-Con drift, that's not to do with the console itself, to do with the Joy-Cons. That's a bit shit.
Yeah, that's shit. Yeah, I like my Switch. I don't play it. It's my least played console that I own, but it is useful. It'll be useful for when I go back to England for the flight and stuff. But also, I did get a little bit unlucky with my hardware. It's very creaky. Like at the bottom, where the barcode is, if you push that, it pops. Like the plastic is just not. It doesn't feel right. It's not properly. It doesn't feel very together. And I remember reading up, and a lot of people had that problem on launch as well. I just picked up a bit of a dud Switch. That's all.
Only problem I've had
the
with mine
internet-
is it has a tendency to attract cats to knock it off of high places.
But the things like the dock scratching screens at the beginning, and all that stuff. It's not been. It's not been a great run for it. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Switch is a fucking blow away success, but it's
They could
not
have
They could have
charged another $10 and put Gorilla Glass on the front of it
I know.
instead of just
I remember buying one of
shit
those dock
plastic.
socks as well. It didn't work.
No, you got to have tempered glass on the front of that thing.
Oh,
Yep.
for sure.
Yep. Definitely.
One thing I always say to anyone thinking about buying a Switch, I'd just say
the
have a
first
tempered
thing.
glass screen protector there as you open the box and chuck that thing on.
Immediately.
Yep.
Like
Because it will-
my Hazel's nephew, his mum or my sister-in-law bought him a Switch, and she was asking me about it, and I said, look, do not let him touch that Switch until you've got a screen protector on. And I ended up putting it on for them. I said I'll put it on and make sure it's all proper for him. And I just said to her, do not let him, because he's only little, and just do not let him put his fingers on that console until I put that screen protector on.
You will regret it.
Good advice. Because that screen is crap.
Yeah.
It will scratch immediately.
You look at it and it scratches. Those purple and orange Joy-Con sets they've released, though, ooh, they're nice.
Oh yeah, I do like the new Joy-Con colors.
The
I'm
Mickey
kind of
Mouse
justified
ones,
buying
or
more,
just the new Joy-Con colors themselves?
No, the new purple and orange ones.
Purple and orange.
Yeah, those are just
That you can buy for the normal Switch. I like the colors they're bringing out for the light. There's like a yellow, a turquoise, and a.
Are those actually
purple,
coming
I
to the
think.
States though? Or are we just going to get shit gray?
No, the lights. That's the range that's coming worldwide.
Because I remember
Yeah,
when
there's a
they
turquoise
announced
and
the
everything.
Wii as the Nintendo Revolution, and they had pictures of like 40 different colors, and like, choose your revolution and pick what color you want. Like, nope, we got white. And
There's a
Japan had
Pokemon
all these other
Sword and
colors.
Shield. There's a Pokemon Sword and Shield special edition one as well, which is like sort of a light grey but with red and blue sort of detail on the front, like on the buttons and stuff. It looks really neat. Obviously not going to get it, but just just looks nice. Looks pretty.
It's party.
I mean, Hazel has been kind of tempted to have her own Switch for a while, and I kind of keep saying, do you want me to buy you one? When birthdays and Christmases come up, like, do you want me to buy you one? And she's always like, I don't know, they're still quite expensive, and I think for the price for her, when I say for me, for her, it wouldn't justify the amount that she would use it. And when the Switch Lite was announced, I said to her, well, look, it's going to be $100 less, or however much that is over here. And she was tempted. And then as soon as I say it doesn't connect to the TV, she was like, nah.
Don't want it.
Interesting. So I would have thought she would like getting like Stardew on that, it's a bit of
Just
portable
ask
Stardew
Kat how
on
much
the
she
go.
plays hers.
Yeah. Literally once, I think, since we moved to Canada.
That was an expensive second dock, that, Tom.
Yes. Yeah, and she's got the neon Joy-Cons as well. I might just swap them.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, do it. I hate the grey ones. I think they're ugly.
Well, I have a blue one now because of Ratchet. Damn cat.
Yeah, but no, those grey ones, yeah, I hate them.
Guys, should we finish up our Kingdom Hearts here?
Yeah, Tom, you're going to finish up Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, Tom, run us
Yeah,
through the
hang on a
last half of
second.
the game real quick. Just give us an overview.
Kingdom Hearts, Disney focused sort of RPG. Square Enix, solid combat, fun for 5 minutes. Gets a little repetitive at times, but and you got this Heartless that they still crop up. They love cropping up. They do. I struggled through that. There's a few more bosses to fight, a couple more worlds to see, a few more movies to reference, a few more characters to meet.
Tom, question. Did you
Yeah.
make it to the spot where we were
spot.
supposed to end for last show yet?
Yeah, you know that.
No, you didn't. You
know I
haven't
did.
you haven't touched this game since we played it for the last show.
You know I did. No, you said that. So when we played the first show, We said we would get to the end of Agrabah.
And did you get to the end of Agrabah?
Yes.
Did
We
you?
spoke about it. We spoke
I
about
thought
it in
you
the last
called
show.
it quits well before then because of the cage boss.
No, the cage boss is after that.
Are you sure? Oh, it's in
Yes.
Monstro. Yeah, you did dick all after that then.
Yes. Well, I'm still correcting you on that.
You're right. I
played quite a-
apologize for my oversight.
I did play about 9 to 10 hours of Kingdom Hearts, which involved going to Pinocchio's world.
Which was
There was a
entirely
way-
optional.
Yeah, which I wish I'd known. Didn't have to spend any more dumb time on that.
It was actually one of the better options because it was short.
It was. Yeah, it actually wasn't bad. I think I was due to go to the Little Mermaid world next.
Ooh, when Mike gets
Was
back,
I?
we'll talk about that. That Little Mermaid world was something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went up through the first half through Agrabah. No fucking idea what the story's going on so far because the second half is sort of where things start to take a little bit of a downward turn in terms of story.
In terms of confusion.
Yeah, it's when they introduce, like, the second half is when they start introducing a lot of the really random elements of the story. Up to this point, it was a little bit straightforward. But now there's references to the organization and Ansem and all of that fun shit. So, how do we want to go through the rest of this? Because we have, like, 4 worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you really picture Bud Stake playing this game?
Hank Fist played it.
Bobby Firm wouldn't play this.
Bobby Firm. Bobby Firm.
Rod Pole didn't play it, and nor did Nancy Propane.
I thought you said RuPaul then.
So, the second half, you actually had a little bit more choice over which direction you wanted to go, because we ended at Agrabah, and then after that, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish areas. But you really only needed to do 2 of the worlds to get to the final one. I went through all of them just to say I did, though.
I did all of them, but I didn't do the extra cup in the Colosseum. I locked the keyhole in the Colosseum, which is the Hercules Cup, isn't it? But I didn't go back and do the Hades Cup. Well, I did. I tried.
I didn't know you could lock the keyhole. I thought you had to beat all the cups.
No, once you do the Hercules Cup, you get the what are the things called? The little coloured things.
Trinity
marks, that's the one, yeah. You get the Trinity mark that I think it's the yellow one that's out in the hall where Phil is, and you do that and the keyhole's behind there and you lock it.
Well, shit, that's why when I got to the end of the game, it said it just didn't show that one as being locked. Like, what?
Did you do the Hades Cup?
I did half of it.
Oh, so you didn't finish it?
Nope.
No.
Oh.
No. But yeah,
Coming from the guy who didn't finish it either.
Look at the 3 of us not finishing this game, eh?
You are not dragging us down with you. You're not doing
no, we
it.
finished up last time, Agrabah. Eric, I think we may have ended up doing some different orders here, so we'll discuss it however you want. But I did Monstro next, so do you want to discuss that next? Or
Yeah. This is actually a really good option because this was a short level, like maybe 15 minutes. It was a quick little jaunt. As long as you were really good at guessing which doors to go through. Because you
It didn't take me 15 minutes.
get good.
Tom's still doing it
You're
now.
still there. It's taken him 5 weeks.
This is the funny thing with this. Like, how long this show has ended up being extended for Kingdom Hearts, and Tom still didn't manage to finish it.
Not doing it.
I have never
Not doing
seen. I guess we'll give him an opportunity later, but I've never seen Tom hate a game as much as this.
Same.
I don't think there has been, honestly. And hate is such a strong word. It's just not for me. It's just not for me. Yeah, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't. Every time I picked it up, I just didn't want to play it. And I tried about 4, 5 times to play a bit more of it. And I would get physically angry every time I would go through a different screen. And I don't even know why, because it's objectively not a bad game. I just don't like it. And I'm sure I'll speak more to it later, but I want to let you guys frame the story of where we're at right now after Agrabah. Because Agrabah was good.
Okay.
And this
Well,
is, and,
Tom,
you know, hopefully we can convey this through the next however long we talk about this, but I get it. Up to this point, up to Agrabah, it really wasn't a very fun game. It was dull. It was generic, I think is a good way to describe the first half of the game. But after that is when things really started to open up and the story started to pick up a little bit and you started unlocking better skills and the combat became more fun. The worlds were more enjoyable. You know, so I think you definitely missed out on the more enjoyable half of the game.
Yeah, and it's here as well where the Disney worlds start. You start having elements of the story kind of within them. I mean, you did start to see parts of it in Agrabah, but like the parts that you played, Tom, most of it you were just kind of going world to world, doing the issues there, going to the next world, doing the issues there, and it wasn't tying into the main, overarching story. And it's from kind of where we stopped there it's after here where it all starts to. So like Monstro that we're about to go to at the moment, you know, there is a moment where Riku turns up where Eric is going to have to remind me what happens with Riku there.
I don't know.
Since last week, but yeah, you definitely did miss out on like the better half of the game. But I can understand why you stopped when you did.
Riku becomes evil. Is that right?
Yeah, he turns heel. Actually, before we go on, can we address Riku's shit stoppers?
His what?
His shit stoppers. So you know when the bottom, like your ankle of where your trousers is so tight that if you actually shit yourself, like it wouldn't come out of the bottom?
I've never heard that.
I've never heard that term.
Right, he's got on his actual trousers at the bottom, he's got actual like tiny belts around his ankle. And the thing is, he's wearing like kind of these dungaree things as well. So if he was out in the rain, like literally his entire just clothing would fill up like a pelican's mouth. It's a questionable choice. Like, you know, he's getting dressed in the morning. He's tying his laces. Like, Riku, coming out. Oh, just got to put on my ankle belts. Hang on.
Oh my god!
I noticed it a bit later in the game, and I was just, what the fuck is that?
Could have done with him at your wedding, Mike, because he could have had a spare belt for Dan.
Save him a trip down the mountain.
I got 3 here.
Which one do you want? So Monstro just kind of comes out of the blue, though, because you have to go through the gummy levels, which I still hate. They never got any better throughout the rest of the game until I built my colossal fortress of death.
Oh, yeah. So after the last show, Eric and Dan took on my advice of just shoving gummies anywhere you want, and we just made just fucking ridiculous things. But the thing is, once you actually start adding shit on, you end up overpowered anyway.
Oh my god, my gummy ship was just a brick of missiles. It's all it was. Just I filled up every available space on there. I put as many guns on as I could, firing every imaginable direction, all the engines I possibly could. It took up half the screen.
It's so stupid.
That's so funny. I saw the images you guys shared of your gummy ships and I was like, wow, they've really gone to town on this.
Just a mess. And I felt bad because I woke up one morning and I'm like, all right, I really want to dick around with my gummy ship. And I played this game a lot with Ellie.
Wink, wink.
You know, she'd wake up and like, Dad, let's play Kingdom Hearts. And it was just kind of what we did on Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings for a little bit. And she was so bored watching me put together this gummy ship. I'm like, honey, I have to do this. I have to do it. She's like, Daddy, I just want to go see more levels. Like, no! Got to put another rocket on here.
Poor Ellie being forced to sit through that tripe.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, just Monstro. Kidding. So if you don't know who Monstro is from, you know, Disney canon, it's the huge whale from Pinocchio. Yeah. So what happens is, Tom, you're flying through the gummy area, and then suddenly Monstro appears and swallows you whole.
Yes.
So instead of like traveling to an actual world,
I did get there.
Yeah, he got through the parasite cage, and that's where he ended.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
That's where his journey ended.
But yeah, no.
This is where your journey ends.
I like Pinocchio the movie. That's actually a really good Disney movie.
Yeah, I used to be a massive fan when I was a kid. So yeah, you get swallowed. You go in there and you find Geppetto, Pinocchio's father, in there, and he's been swallowed as well. His little boat. And is Pinocchio there at that point? I can't remember because you follow Pinocchio further into the whale, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's there.
And it's going through this area. Now I fucking hate the monster. As small as it is, I hate the Monstro level. And I remember hating it the first time I played it as well.
See,
because
you get into those chambers and they
doors.
have like those psychedelic things on the wall, and that's what triggered that same thought from me. Like, Jesus, I remember hating this, but I blitzed through this.
See, I had the same problem I had before. Now, like I said last time, I am using a guide to try and get through this a bit quicker and see the things that, to discuss on the show and things like that. And there's certain doors you go through that lead you back and forth into like the different rooms. So like typical Kingdom Hearts fashion, there's they're all just numbered. And you go through one door, you'll end up in 2, and then you end up through a different door in there, you end up on a different level in 1, and then you go through another door, you go into level on 3, and then you go through another door back to a higher level on 2 and stuff like that.
And if you fall off, you have to go back through all of it.
Do it all again, and all the enemies respawn every single time, and it's the enemies that knock you off. So like sometimes you're trying to platform up to different areas, and we've already discussed before how janky the fucking platforming is. And these enemies would just knock me off constantly. And even though I was using a guide, Monstro took me ages because of this.
Yeah,
and,
I didn't fall off once.
The Kingdom Hearts combat just doesn't help in these situations either, because, and when we get to Hollow Bastion later on, I'll discuss like where it fucked me over with that, because there's flying enemies, and when you jump and you start attacking them in the air, you move forward. Or if you target the wrong enemy and you press the X button, if you've got certain abilities on, Sora will go towards them, and if they're not quite above the ground at the time, you end up falling down then. But I hated it. Hated it.
Yeah, didn't take me that long. I blitzed right through. I'm like, well, that was quick. And that's when I learned that you could do the next level and skip 2 more worlds. Or no, you could skip one of the worlds, because you have Monstro, Atlantica, Halloween Town, and Neverland. And you can skip either Atlantica,
isn't it?
or Halloween Town. You can skip one of those 2, but you have to do Monstro.
Mm-hmm.
So that sucks that he's required. But after
that,
I
thought because Monstro doesn't have a keyhole.
What's that?
I thought that was the thing. You can skip Monstro because it doesn't have a keyhole. So you have to go into Monstro and you have to activate certain things, but you don't actually have to.
Oh, I guess I didn't realize that.
Do the keyhole. Maybe I'm wrong, but do you get the higher jump if you do that?
Yeah, you get the double jump in Monstro.
But yeah, there's not really much to discuss in Monstro other than the parasite cage boss.
Yeah, the parasite boss that Tom could beat. I think that's what burned him out.
Yeah, but there is a moment where Riku turns up. So this is kind of a point where Riku turns up and he realizes that because Riku's on like a bit of a campaign to save Kairi as well. And that's leads him on to going a bit more villainous later on, because Maleficent gets in his ear. But this is the point where Riku kind of notices that Sora's made new friends and is adventuring with new friends, and he's obviously quite bitter about it. And he holds kind of Pinocchio captive for a moment, doesn't he? Which I can't quite remember the reason why, because that's how the parasite cage gets him.
I don't remember.
It's not too important. The basic message of it is that Riku is he's on his own kind of campaign to save Kairi, and he's got Maleficent kind of in his ear, and he's basically jealous of Sora and his new friends. But yeah, you do all that. You face the parasite cage and all that, and then you get the double jump, it's not a double jump. It's just a higher jump, isn't it?
Yeah, which is extremely beneficial.
It honestly changes the game in terms of the platforming, how Sora kind of controls. It really, really changes it. Any kind of frustration you have with the jumping is just almost obliterated the moment you get that jump. And it's such a shame that it takes up to this point for you to actually enjoy the jumping in a game. And it's a shame you didn't see that, Tom, because I think like you got annoyed with some of the clunkiness as well.
Yeah. And then you can go back to the original worlds and reach locations that you couldn't before, and I didn't do any of that. But
no, well, this is the thing with this game. Like, as you go through, you unlock. So obviously, you unlock the different Trinity marks, and then you get the double jump, and then a bit later on, you can fly and things like that. And there's so many things you can go back to through the worlds. And the nice thing is every time you get like a new ability like that, when you go back to the Gummy overworld, Chip and Dale pop up. They'll let you know if there's a new tournament at the Colosseum, or they'll go, oh, why don't we try and find other treasures in other worlds, because obviously you've got the ability to now, so you can go back and find them, find like the Dalmatian chests and gummy pieces and bits of armor and stuff like that. So there's lots of times you can do that. This is also where you find the first lost torn page, which lets you do the Winnie the Pooh stuff. Now, I don't know how you want to handle the Winnie the Pooh stuff, Eric. Do you want to just insert it randomly somewhere, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to go through each world like detail by detail until we get kind of towards the end of the game, because it is just standard fare. Go in here, do what they tell you to do, lock the keyhole. But Atlantica, oh my god! If I could go back and skip one particular world, I would skip Atlantica, mainly because it's a swimming world, and it just
is this the Little Mermaid world?
Yeah, and they give you this tutorial at the beginning of it, like, all right, you're a mermaid, and here's how you swim, and you have to follow Sebastian around, and it's like, press circle to raise and square to go down, and they make you follow him. It's like, okay, he's going to go up and then he'll go down, and all right, cool, you got the controls. No, you have to do like 9 times all over the place. It's like, this is getting ridiculous. I know how to do this. And then just navigating through the world. This is where I actually kind of started struggling with some of the enemies. I died quite a bit in the Atlantica world.
Interesting.
I don't know if it was just because of the mechanics of swimming and the combat with it, because if you wanted to chase an enemy up, you'd have to hit circle to raise yourself up and then attack, and then they'd come down. To me, this entire world was extremely clunky. It was quite confusing in terms of where you needed to go, because you had to unlock certain things in a certain order, and then you had to at no point did they tell you that, okay, grab this dolphin to get you through to this next area. You just see this dolphin swimming around, and you have to randomly go up and grab onto his dorsal fin, and it'll take you up this stream that you couldn't have normally swam up. And then you get this mermaid kick ability where you can then swim up these streams on your own.
Guide that I was following, the only reason regarding the dolphins as well. The guide that I was following regarding the dolphins as well. So I'll read directly from the guide here. Where is it? Leave the grotto and ride the dolphin here so that another one spawns where you're heading. You must do this in this order to progress, even though the first dolphin doesn't take you anywhere.
Yep. That's where I got stuck.
So if you don't grab that first dolphin, the one that actually takes you somewhere just doesn't appear.
Wow.
The only reason I'm glad I didn't skip this is because of the Ursula battle.
What, the first one or the second one? Because I fucking hated these. Well, the first one anyway.
The first one sucked. That's when you had to cast magic on her. Or no, you had to attack her urn, and her urn would kick magic out to hurt her, and then you'd have to go attack her, right?
I struggled with this one quite a bit, and she's got her 2 henchfish.
Yeah, that would never die. Like, you could immobilize them for a while, but then they'd continually come back. So you had to cast magic on her little urn, which would then in turn hurt her. But the only purpose those henchfish served was to continually attack to regenerate your MP to have enough to cast on the urn. And it just became this vicious cycle. That was a long battle. I didn't like that one, but I really liked the giant Ursula, mainly because it was the first large-scale boss that you'd come across. It was extremely difficult. I tried this probably 15 times before I beat it.
I didn't struggle too much. I remember struggling with this the first time I ever played it. But yeah, she ends up huge. Like, literally, her entire head is like bigger than any of your characters.
You're trying to do. You're trying to do
stuff.
This entire boss battle while you're swimming. She's got all of these really massive AOE attacks, so you have to constantly be swimming away from her. Wait for this small, tiny window to go in and get 2 or 3 hits, but Ariel and whoever the hell else you have, or if it's Donald and Goofy, will just sit behind her head and attack her and then die. So you need to swim away and wait long enough for them to regenerate so they can get a couple more hits in. And it was a really long, really difficult battle, but I really enjoyed it because it was so large scale. Mm-hmm. It just kind of had that big grandiose feel to it.
Yeah, and which is kind of a bit of a theme with some of the later bosses as well, which I really like about this game. It really does feel like that epic. Like, there's a boss we'll end up discussing later on that I'm just really glad they included. Interesting fact about Ariel in this game. She was originally meant to be a princess of heart, but in order for her to be captured by Maleficent, the story portion of Ursula giving her legs would have had to take place first. It was already too late in production to add this, so the producers chose Alice as a princess of heart, which garnered fan outrage due to not staying true to the Disney princesses. However, after finding out the troublesome production of the game, the fans forgave the game developers. Oh, isn't that nice?
They could have axed Alice in Wonderland entirely, and I think people would have been fine. That world sucked.
Yeah,
That world was bad.
The interesting thing is, like, of the numbered titles, the Alice in Wonderland world doesn't pop back up, so it's not in 2 or 3. It's in one of the portable ones, but I can't remember which one. I think it might be Chain of Memories.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't appear again in the big ones. Another interesting fact on here, in terms of ones not appearing again, that I found is that apparently Square lost the rights to the Tarzan license, which is why the Tarzan world doesn't appear again either, which is good because that's awful.
Yeah, that one was bad too.
Yeah. But yeah, the Ursula boss, I did not struggle with it as much this time. This Ursula boss always reminds me of how much I sometimes hate the dialogue from the bosses in the Kingdom Hearts games, because they use a lot of audio cues for you to, you know, figure out which attack they're going to do next. But they also have ones where they say things afterwards. And with Ursula trying to eat you, like, just throughout the battle, she just goes, very tasty. Very tasty. Oh, very tasty. Oh, very tasty. All the way through. And it's something that irritates you. Like, I didn't do it this time, but I remember the Hades boss that you do in one of the tournaments. He says, he goes like, feel the heat before one of his attacks, but he spams this attack, so just all the way through he's just going, feel the heat.
The series seems to struggle with repetition of things like that, doesn't it? Like, didn't you say Kingdom Hearts 3 has the same thing where every time you see an item or find an item or something, what was it?
When you go into first person mode.
Camera, yeah, there's a camera on it. He has like a mobile phone, and there's a camera, and you have to like take these hidden Mickey photos of these hidden Mickeys. But every single time you open up the camera, Sora goes, "Let's see," and you can literally go in and out of the camera and just go, "Let's see."
Is it still Haley Joel Osment in 3?
Let's see. I have no idea.
Was it Haley Joel Osment in 1?
Yeah, and 2.
I had no idea.
Mm. Walker told me I have AIDS.
I went on to Halloween Town after this, Eric. Where did you go? I'll give you a minute.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Have I shown you that video, Mike?
No. I'm just kind of laughing at you laughing.
Side note, if you want to see something funny with Haley Joel Osment, first of all, you know what Keyboard Cat is, right?
Oh, you must know Keyboard Cat.
You've got to
Mike.
know Keyboard Cat.
Should I? What's Keyboard Cat?
Do you even
describe it to me?
Internet?
Oh, jeez.
Keyboard
Is
Cat.
it like Bongo Cat?
Is it like what?
It's
Bongo Cat.
It's like an internet meme where stupid things happen and then they get played off by Keyboard Cat, and it's a cat that's like,
here. This is you. You have to have seen Keyboard Cat. That.
Oh, I've seen that image before, but yeah, I've never seen a video.
Okay, so it's a cat with it's playing typical playoff music. You know, when something dumb happens, like, play me off, Johnny.
Jimmy, play me out.
So somebody, you know the old TV show Walker, Texas Ranger? Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
Okay. Haley Joel Osment was in an episode of that. And I don't know the context of it, but Walker drives up. He's got Haley in the car, and they get out, and they walk up to this other group of people. And one of the guys looks at Haley Joel Osment. He's like, well, how you doing there, little sheriff? And the worst segue in the world occurs. And Haley Joel Osment looks at this guy, and he goes, Walker told me I have AIDS. And then Keyboard Cat comes on.
Brilliant.
Just look up Walker, Texas Ranger, Keyboard Cat.
Cool. I'll do it afterwards.
Sorry.
We have a lot of new equipment going here. I don't want to mess with
not
it.
think of that scene.
oh my God.
I'll have to have a look. But yeah, Eric, I did Halloween Town after this.
I did too.
What did you do? Yeah?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. This video is called Play Haley Off Keyboard Cat. There you go.
Okay. I'll find it.
I've just pasted the link for you.
Oh, thanks. I'll take a look in a minute.
But if anybody else wants to Google it, this is okay to Google.
I like that we have to say that every time.
But don't Google sounding.
Yeah, don't Google that. That's
Don't
a callback
Google
to the
that.
Unwrapped, by the way.
I went to Halloween Town after this, yes, because I contemplated skipping it because I thought I was going to start running short on time. But then I realized, we need to go through all the worlds. Not one of my favorites.
Nah, me neither.
I've never really had
that,
that love for Nightmare Before Christmas. It's got a huge cult following, and I just don't get it. I mean, it's a good movie, but it's just not something that I was really connected with. And it just kind of felt like a really disjointed level. You just hop into the middle of something happening, and everyone's like, "Oh, hey, it's Sora. All right, cool. We'll do this." Like, why?
But this one, it just kind of toy on the questions of what is a heart. So obviously, the whole thing of Kingdom Hearts is, the heartless are traveling from world to world and devouring hearts and things like that. And the very beginning of this, you go and see. You end up going and seeing Dr. Franken. I can't remember his name now.
It's Finkelstein. Dr. Finkelstein.
Finkelstein, that's it. Yeah, you go and see into Dr. Finkelstein's lab, and they're trying to create. It is like a heartless.
Yeah, he's trying to create an artificial heart to revive a heartless, right?
Yeah, and you end up using him with that, and there's all these themes about what makes a heart, and you end up going around and you collect laughter and
well, didn't they want to?
Like
they wanted to create this heart so that they could reanimate Heartless, so they had enough people to do this dance scene for the Halloween festival.
Yes,
so dumb.
But I like it stylistically. I mean, it's one of the things that they used. I mean, Atlantica and Halloween Town on this game are the only ones where you go in and it's said that Donald uses his magic to transform them to fit in with the world. And, Atlantica, obviously, you turn into, Sora turns into the mermaid. Goofy, I can't remember what he turns into, but Donald turns into... No, he turns into a turtle, and Donald turns into an octopus. When you go into this one, they have Halloween costumes on. So
yeah, that was really neat.
Yeah, and it was an interesting thing on the second one, it does things like that more often. So when you go to the Pride Lands, you end up turning into an actual lion and stuff.
See, and that's what, when they were advertising Kingdom Hearts 3, I really enjoyed. You see, you're in Toy Story and you are a toy. They take on the full aesthetic of the world instead of just, all right, this is this world brought into Kingdom Hearts style. It's Kingdom Hearts has gone into this world. Then you see the Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's really high res, really well done. I really enjoyed this. I did like the aesthetic of this world the most. Even the Heartless started taking on those Halloween-style costumes. Just the plot of what you needed to do in this world was really dull.
Yeah, the thing as well that they're bringing from Kingdom Hearts 2, and you can turn it off for some reason. You can just have a standard menu. So your battle menu on the left-hand side at the bottom on Kingdom Hearts 2, whatever world you're in, that changes to a different to a different menu, and it's animated as well. So when you're in what's the first world in Kingdom Hearts 2 called? Twilight Town?
Yes.
Yeah, Twilight Town, like that, even has the train animation moving across the top of the menu and things like that, and that's a real nice touch that's on 2 and 3.
So in case people know how I knew that, I've started playing Kingdom Hearts 2. I didn't open it.
I can't believe you're still playing it.
I did not open it. I'm playing 2.5 Remix.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, it feels like we're just flying through these worlds here, but we're just kind of going on the main talking points, because after you get through these, once you get to Neverland, that is the point where more storyline from the main game actually comes in. But Halloween Town, you end up trying to help Jack Skellington create this piece of heart, and then Lock, Shock, and Barrel end up going and telling Oogie Boogie. And if you remember from the first episode of first show on this game, Oogie Boogie was one of those enemies that's in with Maleficent, who were trying to find the keyholes in the Princesses of Heart for their own nefarious doing.
I did not recall the absurdity of the first Oogie Boogie fight, where you're on that roulette wheel
kind of carousel. Yeah,
it took me quite a while to actually figure that boss out. I like to go into boss battles. Excuse me. I like to go in blind and try to figure it out myself. Unless I'm running really short on time, I'll just give myself a quick overview. But this one I went into, and probably the first 5 times I tried it, I'm like, I have no friggin' clue what's going on here, because he's throwing dice at you, and you can hit the dice back to him, and you got to get him to be injured to raise up the roulette wheel so you can jump off, and it made no sense. If you don't read a guide on what's happening within this battle, it's just not going to make any sense.
See, I did the same as you. Although I'm using a guide, I didn't read any of the bits for the battles. I just went into them and just did whatever I did, because sometimes if you try and do the technique on the guide when you literally just go in there and smash them, it's just a bit easier to do. But I did the same thing. I didn't really struggle with this. It's a pain in the ass, don't get me wrong, but I didn't really struggle with it. So for some context, Tom, you're on this like giant roulette wheel kind of thing. It's almost, it looks a bit like the Wheel of Fortune. And Oogie Boogie's like up on like a balcony above you. And he'll fire things down at you, and there'll be like electric coming out of the wheel and things like that. And then there'll be something, he'll roll a dice, and then at one point you'll get gated into part of the wheel, and then that will rise up, and that's when you can go up and hit him. Yeah. And it's just tedious because the amount of damage you can actually do to him while you're up there, you just have to wait. So there's a lot of waiting with it, and just avoiding enemies and avoiding electric. So like you just feel like you're not progressing very far
right
each time you get up there, and that's the worst thing. But I would take this boss any day over climbing up Oogie's Manor afterwards, Eric.
See, and here's another one where I did not struggle with Oogie's Manor.
This is interesting.
It was a really cool boss. Probably one of the coolest boss fights in the entire game, just because of the scope of it. When I first got to it, I'm like, "What? Is this the boss?" Because there's little globs of shit on the side of the building that you need to go and poke, and that's essentially the boss fight. Is just getting this crap off the side of the building. I didn't struggle with it. I don't think I got hit more than a couple times.
Oh, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. It was one of those things, again, where as you're climbing up, you get knocked off. So Oogie Boogie ends up kind of becoming giant and mixes with his mana. So like you're climbing up this enemy. Think of like Shadow of the Colossus kind of style. But even more clunky than Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, but there's walkways and paths, and you can just lock on to where you need to go next. I struggled with that again. Really, really did. But yeah, you end up beating that, and then it's off to Neverland, I guess. Oh, fuck this
Again,
level.
to the listeners, it feels like we're just flying through these, but in terms of the main story, there's just not that much to note.
Yeah, not much really happens until you hit Neverland and Hollow Bastion. That's when things really start to unfold. But
yeah, because you get to Neverland and you're on. Well, it's another one of those ones where like you don't really go to the planet as you're flying through space. Captain Hook's pirate ship appears, and you decide to land on it. So when you say Neverland, the majority of it is just spent on Captain Hook's pirate ship.
Yeah,
and it's when you get on there, you get a cutscene that Riku is involved with Captain Hook. So Riku is just adamant that he wants to get hold of Kairi, and you end up hearing that basically Kairi is there, but she's lifeless. Like she's just unconscious, basically. Well, not unconscious, but she's conscious. But like she's like a zombie. Like nothing is there at all. And you end up landing, and Riku ends up attacking you and things like that, and you end up creating Anti-Sora, which is just like it's like Dark Link, and you end up fighting Anti-Sora quite a bit. So there's an actual boss fight, but like before you get to the boss fight, he's just in every room, and you have to keep fighting him constantly. But the cool mechanic in Neverland is that you meet Peter Pan, who you can have in your team, and you're able to fly. Which is quite interesting on the Captain Hook boss fight. But again, it gives like a new range of mobility that, in a game where your mobility is constantly felt restricted.
Yeah, that's cool because, I mean, going off the first few bosses that I fought, you always had to try and get higher, a lot, like get some height to your attacks because you could never be effective just hitting their legs. You had to always kind of jump and swipe and hope that you connected. So sometimes boss battles, like the one in Alice in Wonderland, took me forever. So to have the ability to fly gives you that whole new sense of verticality, surely, and so you can like just have a slightly easier time with it. I don't know. I'm assuming
it is and it isn't, because it's the same. When you're using the combos, when you're in the air flying, it's similar to your combos which you have when you're jumping, and the jumping combos, the combos in the air are just nowhere near as good as the ones on the ground or feel as strong. You can't really use any of the triangle abilities when you're in the air either, because I swore on this one by a lot of the triangle abilities that you have, like there's the Ars Arcanum and there's another one that you get. Is it Ragnarok you get as well? I think it is this one in the air. And, I swore by those a lot during during the battles on this, especially with the boss battles, because you just open these new abilities up, and if as long as you've got enough MP, you end up using those. And Ars Arcanum, especially, which is what you get from Captain Hook, is it's just so powerful. It's just ridiculous. Like if you can spam it uses up quite a bit of MP, but it's ridiculous. Like it's really good. But yeah, you end up going through that, and you end up seeing that you end up actually getting caught and being put in prison, and Kairi is there all lifeless, and it ends up ending with Riku actually taking Kairi, and he's adamant that he's going to sell her. And what it is that Kairi's heart has been taken, and that's why she's completely lifeless. So she has no heart. And it's after Neverland where you go back to Traverse Town, don't you, Eric? Because you have to get the gummy upgrade to go to Hollow Bastion.
Yes.
Yeah, so you go up there and you actually end up. This is where Squall, or Leon as he's in this game, discusses. You first find out properly about Ansem. I mean, you've heard about Ansem's reports, but this is where he discusses about how Ansem, who was the leader of their world before it was destroyed, or was a scientist there.
Which I'm not particularly thrilled about, because it's like we're just going to inject this into the Final Fantasy VIII lore when it wasn't something from Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, well, this is what we were discussing last time, where because Dan was on about it, where like Ares and Yuffie and Squall were all from the same world, and you and Dan were back and forth about whether it was supposed to actually be the Final Fantasy worlds or not. But they say that it's their world, implying that they all came from the same place.
I think that comment was taken out of context, because they said our world was destroyed, and I don't think that meant we were all from the same world. It just was meant our world, my world, your world, her world was destroyed. They probably should have maybe they were all on the same planet, but I didn't interpret it that way.
I interpreted them to be from all different worlds. We're here because our respective worlds were destroyed. That's how I kind of took it. But
for me, though, to clear. Just inject something into the Final Fantasy lore, I guess, you know what, it's fine. They're doing the same thing with the Disney worlds and making additions to those stories or changes. But for them to say, oh yeah, there's a scientist from the Final Fantasy VIII world, it's like, well, he wasn't really in there, so it would have been cooler had they taken somebody from the Final Fantasy VIII world or 7 world, like what was the 7 scientist, Hojo. That's and made him one of the enemies. That would have been really cool to do.
I think the problem there is that they were adamant. They obviously wanted to make their own villains, like properly. Like obviously there's the Disney villains and everything, but they wanted their own overarching villain. And they wanted to create a new character. But yeah, you're right. The fact that they came from the same world as Leon, a tenuous link on there. But I guess they're expecting you to try and think that even though the Disney worlds are the Disney worlds, these Final Fantasy characters that they've put in aren't necessarily from the worlds that you know and love.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is a bit of a shame, considering like you meet Cloud, who is after Sephiroth as well.
Yeah.
So does that mean that Cloud was from the same world as Ares, Yuffie, and Squall, and Sephiroth used to be there? Who knows? So it's after that you go to Hollow Bastion, and Hollow Bastion is Maleficent's, where she's been working from castle-wise. It's not like the castle that you think from Sleeping Beauty that Maleficent is from. But I think before we go to Hollow Bastion, where predominantly the main part of the story happens, and this is probably where majority of the discussion will come from with the story, we should probably maybe touch on the Winnie the Pooh stuff here, Eric. Did you do the Winnie the Pooh stuff?
I really tried to get into it. I got all the pages. It's so dull. It's so dull. And there's it's not a world with a keyhole to close. It's just dull.
It does. The book turns into a keyhole at the end.
Well, then I didn't close it.
Okay. So the Winnie the Pooh world. So there's this book in Merlin's study that you can go to, and you go in and it's essentially like a mini game collection surrounded by kind of really arbitrary bits of story, and some of them they are the easiest thing in the world. You have to get a certain score on most of them, and
you got to stop Tigger from jumping on a bunch of carrots. It's just
or help Pooh Bear not get attacked by bees as he's holding a balloon going up a tree to collect honey and just shit like this. Or there's like a like kind of Simon Says game with Tigger and Rue where you have to follow where they went on the stumps, which I did before I had the higher jump. So that was a fucking pain in the arse.
See, and the only reason I went through here is because I misread your message to me where this is where you got Stopega or Stopga or however the hell you want to pronounce it. That's not in the final mix version. They've changed it.
No, the confusion lied because there's three different. There's Stopga, and then Stopega, however you pronounce it. I told you it was the last one, which wasn't. It was the second one, which you get from there.
I did not get any of the stop spells.
Oh, well, you must have got the first one because I think you get that through the story.
Nope.
Interesting. Because the best thing about the stop spells is that Donald starts using them.
Yeah, Donald never once used it.
Oh, what an asshole. But yeah.
Side note about Donald, too. I would complain about him so much that Ellie started picking up on it. And she would always look up at Donald's picture and she's like, Daddy, Donald's so bad. He's always dying. And every time he's dead, she's like, Daddy, Donald's dead again. He's so bad. And since we started playing Kingdom Hearts 2, she's gotten back into that too. She's like, are you going to keep Donald in your party? Because he's really bad. Or is he still bad? Yeah, I mean, he's still real bad.
He's not as bad in the second one, to be fair.
So, yeah.
Bless her.
He's a jerk.
That's cute. But yeah, it's really arbitrary, like story things, like, like I said, helping Pooh Bear get the thing. And he's trying to, the first time you go in, he's trying to remember about his friends, and for some reason he's forgotten them. And on the very last one, you have to like arbitrarily find all of his friends, and it's a pain, and I hate it because the minigame music gets stuck in my head.
Thankfully, I don't remember
the worst thing.
So, don't sing it. Don't sing it. Moving on.
But yeah, they bad news, Eric. They bring it in for Kingdom Hearts 2.
Good. Kingdom Hearts 2 is going to be a slow burn for me. Real slow burn. Just because we only play it on the weekends for a couple hours.
I'm honestly shocked you're still playing it. I really am.
I'm only playing it because Ellie wants to. It's like,
this
is something we can do together and sit down and hang out and play a game. I'll talk more about that when we get done with this, because I am genuinely enjoying Kingdom Hearts 2.
Shock horror.
I know.
It's almost like you should have played it a few years ago. So yeah, Hollow Bastion is it's kind of like where the culmination of the story happens, and to be honest, where the main part of the story happens. You've been going to all these Disney worlds and doing the things there that are involved with the world. Which reminds me, at the very beginning of this game, Donald and Goofy, when they get on the gummy ship with Sora, are like, "Oh yeah, we shouldn't interfere and meddle with the other worlds."
That's all you do.
That is literally all you do.
Should probably just leave them alone, shouldn't we?
Don't they bring it up again in Halloween Town? Like, oh yeah, we shouldn't be meddling. It's like,
except
what the fuck have you
first
been
thing
doing
you do when you get there, someone's like, "Hey, help us out!" Like, can't meddle.
Oh god, and a little meddling, why not?
Just a little meddle won't hurt anyone. No, you're just changing the entire course of these worlds. But yeah, Hollow Bastion is a nightmare.
Oh fuck yeah!
Is Hollow Bastion the last world?
Sort of.
Yeah, there is like another area afterwards, but
but
it is kind of the culmination of hopping from world to world.
It's bad enough to do once, but you have to do it twice. It is rough.
And the worst part at the beginning, Tom, is you get your Keyblade taken off you, so you can't actually attack the enemies.
Do you have something else in place?
Yeah, you have Beast with you. So to give it some context,
yeah.
When you first get there, Beast is there who's searching for Belle. Obviously, Beauty and the Beast, Belle and Beast. And you start to go up towards the castle, and Riku appears, and Riku starts talking about how the darkness is the way to help Kairi get her heart back, and he somehow takes the Keyblade off of Sora, He magics it off Sora's hands, and then he takes it. And Donald and Goofy are like, oh, well, he's got the Keyblade now. Mickey said we had to follow the key. Bye, Sora.
Yeah,
great.
they just fuck off. And they're like, see ya, dude, we've just been on this massive adventure together, and we know that this guy's bad, but he's got the Keyblade. I mean, we got to go with him, so screw
They
you.
only care about the Keyblade, those two.
Yeah.
Well, that was their orders from King Mickey, but they're following to the fucking T here.
Yeah.
So you end up with that little wooden sword you have at the beginning of Destiny Islands.
Yes.
For some reason, Sora Riku throws that at Sora and is like, "Oh, here you go." Now, here's my question: was Riku just carrying that little wooden sword around,
Just waiting.
or did he specifically like, "I'll take this with me for when I take the Keyblade off him. It'll be fucking hilarious."
Yeah, to fuck with him. Just humiliate him and give him this
Obviously,
wooden sword.
the wooden sword doesn't kill the enemies. So yeah, you have Beast with you. End up with Sora and Beast for a little while, and you basically have to let Beast attack all the enemies while you try and do shit.
That long though.
It's not, but you have to go down to like these deep like caverns to unlock the doors to go into the main part of the castle.
Yeah. And then you challenge Riku again, and Sora does some I've got courage, and then his Donald and Goofy come running back to him, and there's kind of this standoff with the Keyblade, and the Keyblade ends up coming back to him as well, and Riku runs away with his tail between his legs.
Yeah, Goofy and Donald actually save Sora because Riku is about to stab Sora with the Keyblade to basically remove his heart. Is it this point where it's revealed that he's got Kyrie's heart inside of him?
No.
That's a bit later on, isn't it? Spoilers. So he goes to attack him with the Keyblade, and Goofy and Donald switch back to Sora. Goofy uses his shield to stop Riku attacking him, and the Keyblade goes back to Sora. And
isn't this where you meet the first person from Organization 13? Because as Riku's running away, you see this dude in a black cloak who basically convinces him to, give into the darkness in his heart.
Yeah, well, that ends up being who's controlling him, isn't it? That's Ansem. Yeah. Spoilers for a little bit further. But you see Riku basically talking to this mysterious figure, and he starts talking about how this figure talks about how he can help him restore Kyrie's heart. And you end up then going up through Hollow Bastion, which, how much of a fuck is this, Eric? Seriously.
Ugh, just going through those, it's not particularly fun.
So it has like all these linking lift stops. So you go on these different lifts and stuff up, and they all go to different areas and things like that. But if you get knocked off the side of the castle as you're going up, because these lift areas put you out on different areas outside the castle. Like imagine like kind of Stormy Ascent on Crash Bandicoot, where you're on the outer of it rather than the inner of it. And if you get knocked off, you fall all the way back down to the bottom.
Nope.
Not gonna do it.
Not doing it.
And you have to go up through Hollow Bastion, like Eric said, twice in this game.
But
with respawning enemies on these balconies.
It is all worth it because you get to go to a library and put books on a shelf.
Oh, God, guys. No.
Get this,
I don't
Tom.
think we're selling him on
follow me
it.
for a second. You walk into this library, okay? You've seen Beauty and the Beast, right?
That's one of my favorite Disney movies.
Okay, so you know when Beast takes her into the library and he's like, all of this is yours.
This isn't the Beauty and the Beast library, then?
Yes, which is an awesome. Imagine if someone did that with games.
Yeah. So you walk in and you notice on the left side, there's a block of yellow books and one book is missing. You need to go find that book. But then when you do that, a bookshelf moves and then you see a block of blue books and one of them is missing. So then you go find that one and you plug it in and the shelf moves. And somewhere else you see a block of green books and one of them is missing.
No.
Now, stay with me here. I don't know if I've lost you to this point.
You were promised.
You then get to go find a green book. And guess what you have to do with that green book?
You got to go all the way back up and put it in the slot?
Correct. And guess
Go
what
sounding
happens?
with your friend.
The bookshelf moves and then a bunch of red books appear?
Yes!
Fuck off. Fuck off.
It is the worst traffic jam puzzle ever. It's so dumb.
No, that's just punishing.
I think there's like 16 total steps to get through it. It's ridiculous.
Is that the last of the bookcases?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think there's only like 4 or 5.
What did you just say? No.
There is an arbitrary
that's
puzzle a bit later on
wild.
where you have to like move some statues, and it's this is one of those moments where I don't think I've addressed this so far. I think it's when we've kind of gone over the worlds like loosely. I've not mentioned it before, but there's puzzles in this game that require you to use your magic. So like there'll be like a cable that you need to hit lightning on it or things like that. And there's one of these in Hollow Bastion. And the frustrating thing about this is that there'll be in areas where there's no enemies who necessarily restore your MP, and you'll be nowhere near a save point. So you then have to waste like an ether to have magic to be able to do puzzles.
Oh, no.
And then the lock-on isn't always great. So like you'll use magic to try and like do the puzzle, and you'll just waste MP.
See, but there's hold on, I need to look at the list of spells, because this is where I started to stack my characters in such a way that just broke the rest of the game. It's called... There's one where you get hit. Every time you get hit, it regenerates MP.
MP Rage.
Okay. MP Rage. And then if you tether that with, it's like something Leaf.
Leaf Bracer.
Leaf Bracer. Okay. Which basically ensures that whenever you are casting a cure spell, you cannot be interrupted. You can be interrupted casting a potion, but you cannot be interrupted casting cure. So essentially, it ensures that if you're paying attention, you can never die. Because every time you get hit, it regenerates just enough magic to cast cure. So you get hit, cast cure, and then you get hit again, cast cure, and you just can keep replenishing your health. Every time you get hit, you replenish MP. It breaks the rest of the game. And I discovered that right before I went into the next boss fight with Riku, because that's an extremely difficult boss fight. But yeah, if you're looking for a way to just break the rest of the game, Leaf Bracer and MP Rage with Kira or Kiraga, and you're golden. I never died after that.
See, I was learning my abilities at different orders to Eric, and unfortunately I didn't learn MP Rage on Sora. To the point where I got to. Because obviously the selections at the beginning of the game, you learn your abilities in a different order. So I never got MP Rage, so I did struggle on some bits later on.
Totally worth it.
But yeah, going up through Hollow Bastion, absolute pain in the arse, like I said. You climb up and up and up through the castle. And then the next major plot point in this is that Maleficent tries to stop you because they're trying to access Kingdom Hearts. There's a big keyhole here that they can't access properly without the 7 Princesses of Heart. And they have all of them, apart from one, which basically turns out to be Kairi. Mm-hmm. But because she is currently heartless, they obviously can't use her heart. You end up facing Maleficent, who turns into a giant dragon after the first fight.
I don't remember the first Maleficent fight. I'm trying to look at a picture of it here to jog my memory, and I just don't.
She's on the platform. She's on like a floating platform.
I just don't think I struggled with that one.
And you use gravity on the platform, and it brings her back down.
Yep.
Attack her.
Yep, Gravira.
Yeah.
Gravira was
Then
such an overpowered spell in this game. Holy cow.
Sure was.
Oh, you cast Gravira, and it just, like, really big enemies, it just pulls them down into the ground and plummets their HP. I don't think you can actually kill them with it, because it does a certain percentage of their HP.
Yeah, it's similar to the Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
Where you can't actually kill them with it.
But like those floating orb enemies, it's, yeah.
Anything that's flying is brutal on. Absolutely brutal.
Oh,
but yeah, you end
brutal.
up facing her. I don't know if you've ever seen Sleeping Beauty, but she turns into the giant dragon from that.
Yeah.
Which I had a little bit of trouble with. I think I faced this 5 times, and on 3 of those attempts, I literally had to do one more hit on the dragon and died.
Well, this dragon introduces the style of battle that you better be damn near familiar with by the end of the game, because you fight the behemoth, which is basically a replica of the dragon boss battle, like 7 more times throughout the rest of the game. It's just, after this, they start to rinse repeat bosses, and they just throw them in continually for no reason.
Yeah, you do face there's a chance the last world that you go to, there's an area where there's chests and some contain treasure, some contain battles, and you can literally end up facing the behemoth 3 or 4 times there.
Well, yeah, we'll
which
get
is
to
just
that
this
point
giant
in a minute,
giant kind of dog-like creature. But
after the dragon comes the Riku 2 boss fight, which I think this is the one where I really, really struggled, more so than the Ursula fight. And this is where I discovered the Leaf Bracer and the MP Rage, and that's what finally got me through it. But even then, it was still just by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah. So storyline-wise, Tom, Riku ends up getting taken over by Ansem, who you obviously from before there was on about the one who was studying the Heartless and things like that. And turns out he's evil.
Well, it's revealed here that Riku has another Keyblade too, so there's not just one Keyblade, and this Keyblade can unlock hearts.
Oh.
Yeah, it can take people's hearts. So yeah, that's with the combining of Ansem, isn't it? So you end up having to fight them, but he takes out Goofy and Donald first. So it's just you. You just have Sora. Mm-hmm. And a bit of a reoccurring theme with some of these kind of one-on-one fights in Kingdom Hearts is that the enemy has like a dashing attack where they will literally fly at you several times, and it's very, very hard to block. You can block them if you want. You can get a tech point for it, but they will just obliterate you with this. And I struggled with this quite a bit, Eric. I wish I'd had the MP Rage. I really do.
Yeah, this is where I had to get before I discovered that combination. I was having to fly back to Traverse Town and buy high potions and ethers and elixirs and waste all my money on that. But I discovered the MP Rage. But yeah, he gets into his second form, and then he does kind of like this dashing across 4, 5, 6 times. And if he hits you once, it takes out probably 3/4 of your health, and you need to start rolling out of the way. And if you roll the wrong direction, you can. I did find a little bit of a glitch in this. So you're fighting him on this platform, and at the front of the platform, there's a little nook that if you go into while he's dashing, he won't hit you. Even there's one that flies directly towards you, towards that little nook, and it won't hit you if you stand right there.
Oh, I wish I'd known that.
Yeah. You ain't cheating. You ain't trying hard enough. But yeah, that boss battle was intense. It took quite a bit of time. And then after...
And one of my favorite...
What's that?
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of the plot comes up here. Because I remember when the first time I played this, because in a moment Sora gets transformed, and I'll explain when we get there. But I remember when I first played this game, I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. So you end up fighting him, and you end up beating him, and this is where you find out that Kairi's heart is inside Sora's. It is inside Sora. Mm-hmm. So to unlock Kairi's heart, you need to get it out of Sora, and this Keyblade that Riku Ansem had can do that. So obviously Kairi's still there, all kind of lifeless. So Sora sacrifices himself. He just shoves the Keyblade, Riku Ansem's Keyblade, into himself to release his heart and Kairi's heart.
Oh shit, that's dark.
Yeah, to recreate for Kairi to get her heart back, to come back to life. And you actually Sora actually turns into a Heartless. So the normal enemies, the shadows. You actually control one of those for a little bit, which is kind of cool. And he, Donald, Goofy, and Kairi start escaping the castle, and you, as a little Heartless, need to kind of just get out the castle as well. And there's 2 ways to do this. There's the long way, which I'm guessing you did, Eric. Did you do?
Oh,
I took the easy way.
Oh, I did too. There's 2 ways to do this, which is one, the long way, which is which I did years ago when I first played this, which is going back all the way through the entire castle town. Or there's the easy way, is just going out to a balcony and jumping off, which is what I did
3
this
balconies,
time.
You're right back at the bottom.
Yeah,
done.
But I remember the first time I played this years ago, I went through the entire fucking castle.
Shit.
Yeah, it was.
And he doesn't move very quickly either. Yeah, it is really, really fucking rough. But it turns out, I won't spoil anything for the future, but this moment of him becoming a Heartless is very, very important for the next
okay.
games.
Well, will I learn about it in Kingdom Hearts 2?
Yes, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
It explains the existence of a certain character.
You get back down into the main lobby, and you walk in, and you see Kairi with Donald and Goofy surrounded by a bunch of Heartless, and Sora's walking in, and they're all getting ready to attack him, and Kairi's like, no, wait, I can sense something different, and realize that Sora the Heartless is not attacking them, and Kairi
uses the strength of her heart
to bring him back.
Yeah. There's something I wanted to bring up with Kyrie in this. Now, this game followed on from Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 10, and then there's this. And one of my major issues with this game is kind of the female representation on it. It's a very sausage-heavy game in terms of like the guys kind of getting the glory and stuff. Look at Final Fantasy 9, right? You've got such a strong female protagonist in Garnet who at times appears like just the damsel in distress, but her entire story arc goes from, she had she wanted to escape the queen. Yeah. No, she wanted to escape the queen and looked like she needed to be rescued and things like that, but she actually went out on her own to try and do it. Then she gets to a point where she thinks she needs to be protected, and then she goes through a whole story arc where she becomes as strong as all of her friends and everything. And then, Final Fantasy X, you've got such a strong female character in Yuna, who again goes through an entire story arc where at the beginning she seems like she needs to be protected, but she becomes more and more powerful and becomes an integral part.
Yeah.
And Kyrie in this, she's
just helpless.
Yeah, I want to say she's like Peach, but even Peach these days, she like hangs with Mario with the best of them, doesn't she? And even like Zelda as well. Zelda these days, generally gets involved with the fight and everything.
If you look at the way that Disney stories were written a long time ago, it was very helpless damsel in distress. I can't do anything without a man, and that's kind of how Frozen. If you look at that, really changed that whole mentality too of like, hey, we don't need men to help us, and same thing with Brave too.
Yeah.
So this game was well before those movies, so they were maybe hearkening back to the original style of Disney princesses where they needed a hero to save them.
I suppose, but I mean, look at gaming as a whole, though. The Lara Crofts of the world. Claire Redfield in Resident Evil 2. Let's not use Renoa from Final Fantasy VIII as an example, because she's definitely damsel-y. But Tifa and
Uncharted. Love me.
Yeah, well, that was afterwards. But all these games that came beforehand that had rich, strong female characters that had did something, or they at least, if they started out a bit damsel-y, had a story arc that changed it.
I think it is that connection to Disney, though. They're probably just a little bit behind on it. Like Eric said, if it's all kind of kicked off with Frozen and Brave, those were much later, more recent times where it's like, actually, we can give females less of a 2D story and actually make some interesting characters here. So rather than
just also not very interesting.
Rather than being there to serve somebody else's story, females can have their own. And it's definitely for the better. And I haven't seen Frozen or Brave, but I've heard that they champion that stuff pretty well.
I've not seen Brave, I've seen Frozen, but yeah, they definitely does in Frozen.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right. It's good that games in general did start at least to try and make something of it with your Claire Redfields and your Lara Crofts.
Yeah, even like that last from Fear Effect, I can never remember the name of her. Before they put the lesbian scenes in the second one, but on the first one, there's quite a lot of games where you have like a real strong female protagonist. You often play as them as well. It's interesting how the take on this. I think it just irritated me slightly in this. I mean, by the time spoilers, by the time you get to the third one, she does kind of start getting involved as well. But she is in this one definitely just very damsel-y, and I've spoken a moment ago about them having a story arc. I am adamant that by the time they got to Toy Story, by the time they got to Kingdom Hearts 3, it was then they decided to actually make her have more of a part of that. But I don't think it was a long-term plan for sure, just from how it's kind of randomly shoved in on the third one. Like, it definitely wasn't, they definitely didn't have that thought in the first place. Anyway,
it's interesting.
Yeah. So you made a comment earlier about how you go back to Traverse Town to get a special gummy piece. That was actually a little early. This is when you go back to Traverse Town and get that Navi gummy piece that you have to have Sid equip on your ship, because you have to go, once you beat Hollow Bastion, you can't go back to it because Ansem retreats to a place called the End of the World. There's that keyhole in the main chamber of the castle that's just seeping out darkness, but you can't, when you beat this, you get kicked out of Hollow Bastion. You need to go back there, but you can't because the pathway to it has disappeared. So you go back and you talk to Sid, and he's like, "Oh, I knew this would happen someday, so I hid a gummy piece here in town. And you just like, okay, dude, just tell me where it is. And you have to go find it. And it's in the underground waterway, and you see who is Kyrie standing down there looking at that sun mural, and you two have to unlock it together and get that gummy piece.
And lots of stuff about friendship and hearts, and generally there is a cheesiness to Kingdom Hearts where they constantly talk about the power of friendship and love, and the opposite of darkness, and like take a shot in this game every time they say the word darkness. Jesus.
But yeah, then you go back to Hollow Bastion. You get to go through it all again, but it's actually kind of important that you do, because you can go back to the library. You remember the library, Tom, with the books?
You remember books, right?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit ago with the books. The green and the blue and the red.
Green and the yellow and the red.
Yeah. Fortunately, the books stayed on the shelves.
Yay.
Yeah, but you get there, and for some reason, Ares, or Aerith, or whatever you want to call her, is in the library, and you talk to her, and she talks. She gives you a couple more Ansem reports, but then she gives you. I'm sorry, not Ares, Belle. You go up the stairs and you see Belle. Beast is reunited with Belle, and as a result of that, you get what I think is the most powerful Keyblade in the game, the Divine Rose. Well,
apart from like the ultimate weapon.
Yeah. Which I didn't.
Which, by the way, I want to give a massive shout out to listener Juliet Breslin Romano.
Oh my God.
Who posted on our Facebook community that she went through and got Ultima Weapon, which is the best Keyblade in the game. Now, to do this, you have to do all the synthesis. So there's a synthesis shop ends up appearing above Sid's accessory shop in Traverse Town, and there's some Moogles there, and essentially you take all the items. Tom, you'll probably notice you were starting to pick up loads of like really random items like mithril shards and stuff like that.
Yes. You
eventually actually start using those. There's a synthesis shop. And
crafting tools.
Yeah, essentially. And you have to get the ultimate weapon, you have to synthesize everything in the shop. Now, to do this, you have to go through and get loads of like some of the items you'll need to be in chests around the world. So what we talked about earlier, where you can go back through the worlds and get the chests you couldn't get to before to get enough of these items to synthesize and things like that. But a lot of it also, you get the items from enemies. So again, relying on RNGesus quite a bit. And he...
Good old
going through and getting all these. Yeah. Now don't get me wrong. There's an ability that you can add to your characters where the more rare treasure will appear. But I don't know. It's essentially just holding a candle in hope that RNGesus will bless you. I don't know.
So I'm looking at the synthesis lists right now, and there's 4 lists, and you have to go through each list sequentially. To get to list 2, you have to synthesize 4 items. To get to list 3, you have to synthesize 10, and they get progressively more difficult with the items, and a lot of these items replicate themselves throughout the different lists. To get to list 4, you have to synth 15 items, and then 5, you have to do 24 items. And looking at those items down there, I think by the end of the game, I had 3 of them total.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
So the fact that she got Ultimate Weapon is incredible.
Wow, fair enough.
Yeah. Well done. I do not have the dedication. I think you could do it, Tom. that seems right. You reckon? Yeah.
Of the 4 of us, I'm probably the most likely, aren't I?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you think about it.
Yeah.
You think about the amount of sort of time I put into things and the amount of effort I sort of exude.
It takes a certain level of dedication.
Yeah.
And
I've got it.
You've got it. You've really displayed that level of dedication this time around. It's great. It's awesome.
To Red Dead Redemption 2.
But yeah, so you get back
pull
to
out guns by mistake in this game.
What's that?
Kingdom Hearts, you can't accidentally pull out guns.
So you get back to the end of the world and you start going through the depths, and this is where this is where things start to get a little shitty with all the amount of boss fights that you have to go through.
Oh, this is when things start to... Okay.
So basically Ansem is retreated to a place called the End of the World, like we said, which is the combined fragments of worlds taken by the Heartless.
Yeah.
So it's basically a Heartless world that all the hearts that they've taken and things like that. It's ironic, really, the Heartless, because they've probably got more hearts than anyone else because the amount that they take.
Add that to the book.
What? That wasn't supposed to be funny. It is quite ironic.
It is. I'll give you that.
So you mentioned a little bit ago that there's the first stage that you go into is like this big open. It looks like you're walking on the top of clouds, and you can see a bunch of treasure chests off in the distance. And some of them you open, you get an item, and others you open and you get a boss fight or a group of really difficult enemies. And you fight that behemoth so many times. I think by the end I had fought him 9 times, because you get down into a room in the intersection of worlds, or the Garden of Gummy or something like that, and you go through the world, or you go through the door, and there's a behemoth boss there. And as I was fighting him, the last hit pushed me out of the door. So it killed him and pushed me out the door, and I came back in and had to fight him again.
Fuck.
God almighty, this sucks. But then you get to a point where, the intersection of worlds, where you have to go down the spire and you have to pop back into each individual world and fight a group of enemies.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't do it. Did you?
Yeah, what? Can you skip it?
I just ran by all of them.
Oh, fuck. I wasted so much time with that.
Yeah, just went straight to the end.
Jesus. So this leads to one of my favorite boss battles, not in terms of like the actual boss battle itself, but in terms of its inclusion of it and the atmosphere and everything. So you end up facing, what's it called? Is it Chernabog? I think it's called Chernabog. So do you know on Fantasia, Tom? Disney Fantasia, the film. Do you know there's that really famous scene in it of the giant kind of gargoyle coming out of the mountain with the
I remember that one. That was a weird film.
Bunch of brooms walking around with buckets.
It's such a weird Disney film. It's the one that was really different to everything else.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's classic.
So you face that, and it has that battle music as well. And it kicks off with like the beginning of that music has the strings going like, so it goes kind of, you end up flying towards this thing, and you don't realize what's going to happen, and that starts to kick in, and it's really, really cool. And then you end up facing that, and it's kind of this huge epic boss. It's like Ursula, where it's bigger than you. You can essentially land on its shoulders. That's how big it is.
Yeah, he was not particularly easy.
No, this was another one of those where I kept getting like 1 or 2 hits away from killing him, and he'd just get the right spell on me, and Donald would be dead and wouldn't cure me, and I'd be out of MP, and he'd just managed to beat me.
Fuck.
But once you get through him, then begins the final RPG boss rush of, what do we've got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight boss fights in a row, subsequent, no break.
Ugh.
Welcome to Kingdom Hearts, son.
What, so if you die on like the 5th boss, you have to start from boss 1 again?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. At least I don't think so.
Bad.
I don't recall dying.
No, I didn't die on them. I didn't die, so I'm not sure.
Get good, right?
Yeah.
Right, lads?
Yeah, exactly.
Get good. Get that leaf bracer, MP rage, you'll be fine. But yeah, you fight Ansem, and then you fight the boss from the very beginning in that tutorial, Darkseid, the dude with the big heart holes in his hand.
I really struggled with Ansem because he takes you back to Destiny Islands, or like a destroyed version of Destiny Islands, and he basically he reveals that he seeks Kingdom Hearts, which is the source of all hearts and therefore the ultimate source of darkness. So he basically believes that, it's the darkness side of the heart that's more powerful, because a heart is built of light and darkness, and he believes that, the darkness is the more powerful side, and that's what he's trying to unlock to get to Kingdom Hearts, and that Kingdom Hearts will be all of this darkness that he can consume and become all powerful. Typical bad guy stuff. I want to be powerful.
I think this is where the game should have ended, though, with the Ansem 2 fight, because the bosses after that are just your traditional run-of-the-mill, what the hell boss is this? Where did this come from? You know how JRPGs do that? It's like, this makes no sense. Suddenly, after Ansem, you're fighting a giant alien spaceship head that looks like one of the Covenant spacecraft from Halo that you can hop on. It's the weirdest thing.
I'll get a picture of it for you, Tom. Hang on.
And it's called the World of Chaos. So you have to fight different aspects of it. You have to fight the room core, then there's the artillery, then there's the room core again. So after each individual area, you get dropped into this dark room where you have to defeat all of these enemies, and it becomes like wave after wave after wave. You have to fight all of those just to get out of that room to then attack the next section, like the artillery or the face. And then after that, you go back down into the main core. But it's just an onslaught of constant battle. Jesus. Yeah, there he is.
What the hell is that?
Where did that come from?
What?
So yeah, this thing is giant. I mean, absolutely giant. Like you see its teeth. Sora is like the size of its teeth. That's how big it is, like on the screen.
Yeah, it's colossal.
Oh God.
So then there's little sections where, like, if you look on the roll cage up top, think about Wreckfest. You know, a car has a roll cage. Look at his roll cage.
Got it.
There's some artillery on there that you got to go fight. So you got to knock off all the artillery. Then you go back into the room core. Then you got to come back out, and then you got to fight the face.
And Ansem himself is kind of, you need to see that top like blue bit.
Yeah.
He's kind of like in there, like nestled behind like part of it. So he's like controlling the entire thing.
Can you stand on his chin and fight his teeth?
No, because you're flying this whole time.
Oh,
yeah, but you can land on him.
But then after
one of the easiest things to do on this, land on him, summon Tinkerbell, because Tinkerbell's the best summon in the game.
Yeah,
she just spends her entire time healing you.
Yeah, it's great. But then after you defeat the main core, then you fight Ansem one more time in his giant colossal form. The only thing that I think there's one new thing that he does. I can't remember what it is, but if you cast a Roga on yourself, you're golden. It's not a super difficult boss fight.
As far as the boss fights go in this game, this is actually one of the easier ones, to be honest. It's just long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then to kind of round off the story, they end up seeing the door to Kingdom Hearts.
It's just like this bubbling pool of darkness.
Yeah. And the door is kind of opening. But as they open the door, it reveals light behind it instead of darkness, which also behind that, when that kills Ansem. But then also beyond the door is King Mickey for the first time you see him there. Like first time in this game, because he appears quite a bit in the later ones. And I mentioned on the first show of this that, you know, they actually managed to keep that kind of mythical aura around Mickey by not having him appear in this game until the end. And, you know, there's always just that talk of King Mickey. Oh, yeah, King Mickey this, King Mickey that. And it turns out that he also has another Keyblade, the same as Sora's. And he's on about that they need to get the door shut because there's how many Heartless are behind it. But Riku turns up. He's turned babyface again, and he and Mickey basically and Sora trying to get the door shut. They go on the other side of it, and they manage to close the door. Manage to stop obviously the darkness getting out, the Heartless, and Riku and Mickey are trapped to the other side of it, which essentially is kind of the end of the game. Really, the destroyed worlds reconstruct themselves. Kyrie's returned back to Destiny Isles, and Sora promises before separating they'll reunite again someday. But the very, very end of the game is kind of Sora, Donald, and Goofy saying that they need to go and find Riku and Mickey. And so after the credits, there's a scene where Pluto pulls up to the three of them, and he's got a letter with King Mickey's stamp on, and it's at the end of the game. You don't find out what's written in there, but they just kind of wander off into the sunset, and that's the end of Kingdom Hearts.
Do you find out what's written on that letter in Kingdom Hearts 2?
So actually, the direct sequel to that is Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories on Game Boy Advance, which I actually popped in last night just to see how it's aged. And that's the opening of that game, is that cutscene. So it starts right there.
So I think we've discussed this before, but even though there is Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3, and we think that the other ones are spin-offs, the other ones aren't spin-offs. They are actually integral to the entire plot of the entire series.
Which is why if you get the story so far, like Birth by Sleep, 265 divided by 412 plus 3, they've just kind of truncated them down into little snippets of vignettes.
Yeah. So they are very important parts of it. I've never played all the quote-unquote spin-offs, but this creates a bit of an issue with the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2, which Eric can probably attest to.
I was going to ask you about that, because at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1,
understand what's going on.
He doesn't go into his little stasis mode.
I was confused as you when I first started playing Kingdom Hearts 2, and just not a lot is explained at all. It expects you to play Chain of Memories, and I think there's another one in between them as well, to know the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2, and to understand the plot, and especially the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2, you either need to play those games or read up on the plot. Yeah. It's ridiculous, and then this whole thing with Ansem kind of gets even more complicated. So Ansem. You end up getting the Ansem reports, which I did read the first one out on the last show, but I've read through them all, and I'm not going to read them all out like I was planning to, because it would take us ages. But it's essentially Ansem's reports of studying the Heartless and how he met King Mickey, and his studies into what happens when people become the Heartless, and what happens with the hearts of the world that King Mickey revealed to him, and things like that. And also like how he saw a meteor shower that ended up being gummy, and he ends up experimenting with a gummy and things like that. And he does hint towards in the very last Ansem report, which I think you have to pretty much complete the entire game to get all of Ansem's reports, in terms of every Dalmatian, every keyhole, everything. It reveals that like there must be some other thing that gets created at the same time from the heart and the soul, and he calls it the Nobody, which ends up being kind of the enemies in the second one. So when you create a Heartless, which is an important plot point in the fact that Sora became a Heartless. But I can't say any more without spoiling Kingdom Hearts 2.
I'm going to try to chug through it. No promises, though.
Nice.
No promises. But yeah,
I will say this. It's half spoilery, but it's not going to really spoil what happens. The Ansem that you defeat at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1 is not what it seems. And it gets ridiculously complicated from there. But if you weren't playing Kingdom Hearts 2 now, Eric, I'd go into it, but I won't since I'm playing it. So.
Maybe I'll take the mentality that I did with Kingdom Hearts 3, or maybe I shouldn't, is just anytime Ansem shows up, skip!
Well, I can spoil it if you want, because it's fucking madness what actually goes on.
Nah. Has something to do with Xenoheart and all that BS.
I could kind of sum up what this Ansem is in one sentence, but again, like I say, it would be spoiling it.
Let me figure it out on my own.
Okay. But it is stupid.
Tom, I will admit, you did kind of miss out on a really good last half of the game. The combat, once you get that high jump and then you get some more skills and unlock different spells, the combat does become quite entertaining. And by the end of the game, I was really enjoying myself.
That's good. I don't know if I got to the finding those books though. I don't know if I would. You're asking me to come to each barrier, and I'm like, can I knock that barrier down and get to the? There's just it doesn't feel like a seamless experience. It feels like you guys just really. You went through a lot of huge bumps on the way in that second half, but you got the satisfaction you needed from it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, is it a great game? No. It hasn't aged well. It has not aged well.
I'm glad I played this on the PS4 version, because I think if I'd played the PS2 version, I definitely wouldn't have enjoyed it as much.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll be honest with you, when we said we were going to do Kingdom Hearts, and I think although we all discussed we should probably do Kingdom Hearts, it was a joint decision, I was the one who actually ended up putting it in on the planner. And I remember putting it in and I was like, you know what? I'm actually not looking forward to going back to this.
I wasn't either.
At all. And when I first started playing it, that long intro, because I remembered about the long intro, it's nowhere near as bad as Kingdom Hearts 2, don't get me, which Eric will attest to, I'm sure. But I knew all that happened. I knew it started slow, and I was really concerned that I wasn't going to enjoy this, and I was afraid it was going to tarnish this game for me, because don't get me wrong, I'm not a massive Kingdom Hearts fan. I mean, Kingdom Hearts has its proper mega fans who will not have you say a single bad word about Kingdom Hearts, and fair play to you. If you like it that much, you like it that much. But it's very special for a lot of people, and the idea of it has always been special as well. This magic of Disney mixed with this kind of this Squaresoft RPG elements and everything like that. Yeah. And I was really worried going back that it was just going to tarnish the entire thing for me, because Kingdom Hearts 1 is always, I described it as kind of quaint compared to the other two, and I stand by that. And I still had a good time with it. I really did. There's a lot I'd change. for sure. There's still a lot of clunkiness. It's definitely a game of its time, but I'm glad I played it again. I probably will never ever play it again now.
No, I don't think
I've
I
had
ever
my
will.
fill.
It definitely deserves a
had my
place
fill.
on everybody's shelf. As I've played this, I've experienced it because it is unique. Kingdom Hearts 2, the combat system is way more fluid. The voice acting is awful. The dialogue is terrible. It's so corny. It's some of the corniest voice acting.
In the first Kingdom Hearts?
No, in 2. It's real bad.
Oh, in 2. Okay. Yeah.
One of the interesting things going back and playing this, though, because obviously I played and I finished Kingdom Hearts 3 this year when it came out. And I had a lot of issues with Kingdom Hearts 3, partly with like the story and how fucking stupid and ridiculous it got. And, you know, how kind of bland Kingdom Hearts 3 was, if I'm honest, and going through was very bland. I mean, a lot of the Disney worlds you go to, you literally just recreate the plot of the film in like a redacted way.
Yeah.
Playing this again actually made me realize I enjoyed Kingdom Hearts 3 even less than I thought I did. Because...
Oh, really?
Yeah, because now don't get me wrong, in terms of gameplay, Kingdom Hearts 3 is the better game. I mean, obviously it looks a hell of a lot better. It's a hell of a lot more smooth. But Kingdom Hearts 3 does, to be honest, still play like a PS2 game in places. But the fact that all the effort they went to in the Disney worlds in this, into how to give them a different story and how kind of... in some ways small scale the story was of this one, the absolute bloatedness of Kingdom Hearts 3 in comparison now has made me dislike Kingdom Hearts 3 even more, like I just said. Not that I mean, you know, a dislike is probably too strong of a word, but I didn't enjoy Kingdom Hearts 3 as much as I thought I would. I was really excited for it, and I got to the end of it, and I kind of got to the end of the credits, and I kind of went, huh, all right.
Yeah.
It was done. It wasn't like when I finished Breath of the Wild or Horizon where I went, wow, like what the fuck do I do now? Like that was incredible.
Yes. Those experiences are awesome.
Yeah,
when you get to the
sure.
credits of an amazing game, you're like, I need to sit down for 10 minutes and just digest that, and I'm not going to
like
probably play
Horizon.
anything else tonight. Yeah. Just yeah. That's something special.
Yeah.
Like, what do I now do with the rest of my life?
Back to Red Dead.
I shall contemplate everything from now on.
Do you regret going? How do you feel about this, then, Eric, as a kind of, going back and playing it? Because obviously you did play it before.
I'm glad I finally finished it, because when it first came out, I got up to Hollow Bastion and for some reason tailed off with it. And then every time I've picked it up since then, I've not followed through on it. So I am glad that we went back so I could finish it and have the complete origin story. But it's really hard for me to recommend this game to anybody because it just has not aged well.
Yeah. I think back at the time, I think if you played this when it first came out and, PS2 was still the big console, I could quite happily recommend this to anyone.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely unique. And like we mentioned in our first show about this, it was great to have your Final Fantasy characters, albeit in a very reduced role in a game with Disney characters. It was just a unique merge that I think is something that is worth experiencing at least a little bit. But yeah, I can see why Tom tailed off with this. It is a little bit of a slog.
Yeah, and normally you can kind of get through stuff, but you just have to be in the right mood, or you just have to be in the. I just was never in the right frame of mind for it every time I tried it.
Maybe one of the reasons that I enjoyed it as much as I did is because I played through it together with my daughter, and she.
Yeah, that's something a bit special that.
Yeah,
I would have no idea what that's like, and
she loved
I can imagine. Yeah, that makes a difference.
So,
just for the listeners, just a warning, it will probably be a very, very long time until we touch Kingdom Hearts 2, so don't hold your breath.
I would be totally fine if we didn't do another Kingdom Hearts game on this show.
I think we have to eventually, but not anytime soon.
Let's do Birth by Sleep.
I was going to say maybe one of the handheld ones might be an interesting time.
Chain of Memories is really interesting. Real quick, the combat system is all card-based. So it's a real-time action, but it's got cards that you use as your attacks and magic.
What's the one on the DS? Is that
Dream
is that
Drop Distance?
Oh,
3DS
No, the original DS.
Oh,
That was 348 over 7 days.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so right. Shall I go to Facebook?
yep. Do it. Do we have any?
Yeah,
I can't remember
okay.
what we asked or what we covered last week.
We didn't cover any of them.
We
We
didn't do
decided to
any.
save them.
Oh shit, we have some
Yeah, so we-
questions.
Yeah. So, and do you want to check if we've got any emails as well, Eric?
Do I want to check if we got
Right.
jokes for days?
Ralph Caffrey. I'd like to know how anyone has ever played this game when the boring, inane fetch quest is the first thing you have to do in it. I played it once when it came out and once last year to see if I had missed anything, but nope, same boring fetch quest right off the bat. What were they thinking? I think he should have finished that with a "but why?" But
Why?
But interesting, Stephanie, she says as well, I could never get into these games, felt so out of the loop with Kingdom Hearts 3, but these games just do not hold my interest.
That's pretty much me.
Yeah. Santos Lopez, were you able to beat Sephiroth? I went in and died.
No. Oh, we didn't even talk about the Phantom boss in
I
Neverland.
don't know anything about the Phantom. That's another optional boss, isn't it?
It is, and he is rock hard.
I've never seen it. I tried Kurt
Thanks,
Ziza
Dan.
once. There's an optional boss in Agrabah called Kurt Ziza, which it's called that because they had a competition for you to have a boss in the game named after you, and someone called Kurt Ziza won it. Yeah, which is random.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a go at Sephiroth and just got obliterated. I've never gone to the effort to beat Sephiroth. You have to be an expert at that game.
Yeah,
Like
I
an
went
actual
into
expert
the
at
Hades
combat.
Cup just to get Goofy's next level weapon, and that's where I stopped.
Yeah, I
wonder
didn't
if
do the
Dan
Hades
beat
Cup,
him.
but it's a platinum match, the Sephiroth thing. After it's not part of the Hades Cup. Because I
Oh.
didn't beat the Hades Cup, but you can still access the platinum match.
Ugh, well, then I definitely
but
didn't
yeah,
get to it.
Sephiroth, you have to fight him with just Sora, and it has an updated like PS2 version of the like the Sephiroth, the One Winged Angel as well, which is a nice touch. But yeah, you have to be an actual expert at the gameplay, like be able to block everything and have all the abilities and stuff like that to do that. So he also Eric didn't talk about Greedfall after E3. Any thoughts?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, I'll tell you as a no.
And I just looked it up, and my initial thought is, yeah, I need it.
What's it called?
Greedfall.
Okay.
It looks real good. And that's me judging a game by its screenshots.
Cody Halverson, I personally love all of the Kingdom Hearts games and played them all more times than my pride will allow me to admit. Over the last year, though, I found myself slowly losing interest because the series just feels like it's being drug out too far. As great as some franchises are, sometimes they just need closure. Do any of you feel the same way, or is there a series that you have felt the same about?
A series that needs closure.
Yeah, it's been dragged out too far.
Mega
Other than
Man.
Kingdom Hearts.
Fuck you.
Like
I was gonna say
3,
Sonic too, but
4.
Dan's not here.
There's
I
quite
would
a
say
few,
that
isn't
before
there? I think that they could
Before
probably
the
nip
massive
in the bud.
reboot,
Yeah.
Tomb Raider got a.
How about the Fallout series? Let's just end that one.
Ooh. You're
Elder
going to lose a lot
Scrolls.
of
No.
fans there.
No.
Well, there are some where I would have thought in the middle somewhere, yeah, end it. But then a lot of series have had pretty solid reboots. Like Tomb Raider is a good example actually, because that was going down the pan during the late PS2 era. Those games
I've
are
never
rough.
actually played. The only PS2 one I've played is that they did that remake of the original Tomb Raider
Oh
Anniversary.
yeah, that's
It's
actually really
literally
good.
Yeah, that's the only PS2 one I played.
You know what other series needs some closure? FIFA.
God, making no friends here.
Not today.
Because I would have said Resident Evil, but 7. I mean, I've not played it, but apparently that's really good.
How about
So-
Assassin's
7 is
Creed?
amazing.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're just gonna milk that franchise for decades.
Yeah, but Assassin's Creed's had a bit of a resurgence, hasn't it?
But they're
Like
good
with
again.
Origins
yeah, they're
and
supposedly,
Odyssey.
Yes.
Supposedly-
Odyssey and Origins, are good games apparently.
Supposedly Odyssey is incredible.
Yeah,
I've heard nothing but amazing things about Odyssey.
I know.
Maybe
I've been
Far
really
Cry?
tempted to pick it up.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Far Cry. That seems to have
What about Metal Gear
wavered a little
Solid?
bit.
No, if Kojima had a chance to do Metal Gear Solid 5 properly, that still would have been amazing. I mean, it's still an amazing game anyway. But
Yeah, I would
Don't get
like
me wrong,
that
it's getting
series to
convoluted.
die. Even I really would.
Just take it out back and put a bullet in it.
Yeah, I love all the most of those games, but it's time to end it now. It's becoming a joke. Metal Gear Survive.
Oh my god! Speaking of like Kojima madness, so they gave some details this week at Comic-Con of so they released all those character names a while back on that trailer, and there was someone called Heartman on Death Stranding.
Game?
Sorry, I'll give some context. Death Stranding. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Some context. Yeah. So Death Stranding, there was someone called Heartman in it, and they released the details of this Heartman recently. This is like how fucking like the madness of Kojima is going to go into Death Stranding, which Heartman apparently lives for only 21 minutes. His heart is only designed for him to live for 21 minutes at a time. So every 21 minutes he dies, and then he spends 3 minutes whilst dead trying to get back to his family, who I think are dead as well. And then after those 3 minutes, he's resuscitated and then lives for only 21 minutes again, and then dies. And he lives his life like this, and only he consumes like 20-minute media all the time before he dies.
What?
Yep.
I'm excited for that game.
The characters in Death Stranding.
Jesus.
Shall I carry on with the Facebook comments?
Yeah, I can't think of any other games that potentially need to end other than every sports series.
Harsh. Juliet Breslin Romano.
Oh, it's brutal.
How about Castlevania? Let's put a pin in that one.
Oh God, well, you've lost Zach's Patreon. Jesus.
Sorry, Zach.
Juliet Breslin Romano. Her first one is an image of Squall with just like ... dialogue, and she said that like as a lover of Final Fantasy VIII, the screenshot was legit one of her favorite moments of the whole game. And then she put, I was very excited you were going to do Kingdom Hearts on the show as I hadn't played it previously and had been wanting to. And this gave me awesome motivation. Can I just add, she got Ultimate Weapon and she's never played this before.
Wow.
Dedication.
As a huge fan of Disney and Final Fantasy, I was surprisingly largely underwhelmed by this game. I've spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out why. I think it's largely in part to not liking Sora, not finding the combat particularly enjoyable, and feeling a little ho-hum about the story. Until almost the end of the game, it just seemed like you're going through stories I already knew with a tiny little twist. I found the Ansem reports the most interesting bit of the game, but unfortunately, that didn't bother to read them until I had done almost absolutely everything else there was to do. The only side boss / quest didn't complete was a Tarzan fruit minigame. I'm disappointed I didn't enjoy it more, but I'm glad to have finally completed something that's been in my backlog for so long. How did you feel about the characters and combat? What is it about the Kingdom Hearts games that you really enjoy, and what are the parts you think that aren't great?
There's a lot to digest there, but to just address the questions at the end, the combat in the first game, a bit clunky in the first 70% of the game, and then it really starts to unlock and become a lot more fun towards the end once you get a nice combination of spells. Characters are very one-dimensional, very flat. They had so many characters that just never really got fleshed out. I would have liked to know more about the Final Fantasy characters and why they were there and what they were doing to help solve it. They just kind of seem shoehorned in to be like, hey, let's Hironobu Sakaguchi, push your characters into this, or whatever the hell his name was. They just...
I agree with the flat characters. That's just, it's very much the same in the rest of the series when like Organization 13 comes in and you don't... I mean, like I say, I've not played the spin-off, quote-unquote spin-offs, but I felt like going through, you never really learnt about them so much. They were very just, this is my personality that you'll learn through this like 2 minutes of interaction, and that's it. I've already mentioned my issues with the Kairi character. Donald and Goofy, the Disney characters as they are, they just are what they are. They're not very much different to the films, which didn't bug me with some of them. Like Hades is still hilarious. Jafar's one of my favorite Disney villains. He was still very much Jafar. But yeah, I think my favorite part of the Kingdom Hearts game, she said, what is about the Kingdom Hearts games that you really enjoy? And for me, it's kind of that Disney nostalgia. Mm-hmm. I mean, she mentions that going through the worlds is going through a story that you already know with a slightly different twist. And, going through the games for the first time when you do play them and you haven't seen those films for a while or seen those characters for a while, I think that is the best thing about the Kingdom Hearts games. It kind of rekindles that nostalgia for those films that you used to watch when you were younger, or even still me now. I enjoy Disney films as an adult, going through and enjoying them in a different medium.
I think
like being able to enjoy these worlds
the
as
one
a video
thing
game
that
rather than a
I
film.
didn't really enjoy was the fact that here you have this massive sprawling, for all intents and purposes, an RPG, and it never felt cohesive. Every single turn, you're like, what's going on? I don't understand this. And it's really jarring for someone who plays a lot of RPGs because, the beginning of an RPG, it's always like, okay, what's going on here? The story's confusing, but then it starts to piece itself together. And this game never pieced itself together. It just felt like an amalgamation of random ideas shoved together. And it's like, all right, here's a game.
Resting on the laurels of its source material in some ways, I guess.
Like, you're going to buy this because it's Disney.
Disney mixed fantasy. Zach Foley, how did you all not commit murder after hearing Haley Joel Osment say Kyrie 1.4 million times? Hashtag I fucking want him to die. Dalton Sutor, was the final boss fight as big as a pain as I remember it being? Ansem took me forever to beat as a kid. Also, did any of you attempt Sephiroth? I think we kind of answered those already. And Jason Reck, are you going to make the story decipherable?
Nope.
I don't know. I think our approach to just take this story as it's presented in this game was the right approach.
Yeah.
Because I think if we started to include the rest of the overarching plot of the Kingdom Hearts games, I don't think the four of us, as it stands, would have made it comprehensible.
No, we definitely would have been.
I mean, the Kingdom Hearts games themselves don't make it comprehensible. So,
I think cutting it down to 2 shows is great. I think 4 shows would have been too much.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially
I know
for Tom.
I was a bit iffy about it at first, but
yeah, I think so. In 2 works.
So yeah, we're done with our summer RPG. Sorry, we've kind of been a little absent this summer. It's been a little bit crazier than usual. We are scheduled to get back on our bi-weekly track. We're not going to have a full crew for a few weeks, though.
Yeah, I'm taking a little bit of time off.
Which you guys do realize that you're leaving me alone with Dan to cover Zelda 2.
Oh, you're not doing Zelda 2 either, Tom?
No, I'm in England.
How long are you in England for?
10 days.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's going to be a Eric and Dan 2-man show, and you guys know what happens when that occurs.
Oh, and Dan hasn't been on as well, so you're going to be extra stupid.
Oh, I know.
Oh, it's going to be real.
I look forward to listening to it when I'm over there.
I may actually ask. We may actually ask Zach to hop on again because that'll be after MoCon.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
MoCon is next weekend, and we have a good number of people coming. I was excited for MoCon last year, and I was excited to come again this year because it was a great time. But the fact that we have people coming, I am extremely excited to meet some of these people. We have, I believe Josh Moss is still coming down. I've met him before, but we have Cody Halverson, James Hall, and then a new listener. I can't remember his last name, but Wilfredo. Yeah,
I can't remember the last name
I
either.
can't remember his last name off the top of my head. He sent us a message saying that he and his wife are hopping in the car from New York and driving over. So
wow, that's cool.
It is going to be a fantastic time. We kick off on Thursday. Yeah, Zach and I fly in Thursday night, and then Friday is our typical day of rounds at the local game shops, and then Friday night we're heading over to Chad Hager's house. We're all going to link up there, play some games, drink some beer, and then Sunday becomes the cash raining fest of MoCon. So we have a record to beat from last year of who can spend more than $300 in under 3 minutes. Because last year Zach walked in and went, I want that immediately, and bought it. And it was a boxed TurboGrafx. And I came to a close second because that's where I found your copy of Metal Gear. What was that one? I don't even remember what it was called now. The Story of Metal Gear.
The document?
Yeah, Metal Gear 2, the
Yeah, the
document.
document.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a bunch of Saturn games, but we're all taking a different approach this year. I'm going for as many Japanese games as I can get because they're going to be cheap.
Nice.
And I'm not buying any
So
consoles.
You're not buying any consoles?
Yeah.
Famous last words.
No more blue
Yeah,
Game
well,
Gears for me.
Just red ones.
Yeah, just red ones.
Have you even got that working yet? It's been nearly a year now.
Yeah, still haven't recapped it either.
Damn, son.
Yeah, I know. It's a bad investment. But I've got my rock and roll racing on the list, and
Oh god, that one. That'll forever haunt you. Rock and roll racing on the Genesis.
I'm just gonna walk in with a bullhorn and immediately get on there. Who's got rock and roll racing on the Genesis? And if I'm in the distance, I do. I'm running for it.
Would you buy it loose?
That's a great question. Probably.
Ooh.
I'd look at it every day with ire and be like, I could have had you boxed. It crosses my mind at least every few days. Just, there's certain things. People make mistakes in life, and that was one of mine. One of my more regrettable decisions. So
That's
this weekend. The other thing too, anyone who has ordered a shirt, those will be mailed out tomorrow. And Chad Schaefer sent me a package last week with a bunch of vinyl cut stickers. So anyone who ordered a shirt will be getting those white vinyl stickers.
So much for those. They look amazing. I've not got one in my hands yet, but they look amazing.
Oh, they are
so
super
thank you so much.
cool. So yeah, you'll be getting one of those.
Awesome.
And if anybody else wants one of those, I've asked him if he can make a bunch more, and I'll have those on hand if you want some. I can probably drop them in an envelope and throw 48-cent stamp on them and send them to you.
Nice.
So,
And also, don't forget to order your Savior Soak.
gross. Have we given a recap of what's coming up on the show? Because we've changed a few things around.
Yeah, don't go too far ahead though, because I think we end up promising things we're not going to do. So
the next couple shows, we'll say the next 3 shows. The next one for sure is Zelda 2, much to my dismay.
Good luck with that.
I think you guys strategically took that one off. I happen to be here for that one. And then we're playing The Getaway, which I'm super pumped about.
Yeah.
And then The Mark of Kree. So that's up through the beginning of September. And then we start man, I can't believe we're wrapping up to the end of the year already.
Well, our list for next year is nearly complete as well.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yep. All right, gentlemen. It's been lovely sounding fresh and lovely with you.
Hell yeah.
Oh shit, my light's still blinking.
Oh, you got to be fisting me. The hopefully obvious increase in this week's audio quality is a result of our brand new recording equipment, which was only made possible through the generosity of all of our Patreon supporters, with an extra special thank you to the following: Santos Lopez, Zach Foley, Phil Gartside, Stephanie, Nicholas Bradley, James Hall, Thomas McGrew, Chad Schaefer, Richard Cuttress, Jordan Lawfrey, Jeremy Sanford, Miles Prower, Jeremy Lucas, and Samuel Chun.